How many chairs are you sitting on right now? Are you all in on the chair? You put on one pair of glasses, you've got one pair of AirPods right now. You're looking at me through one screen.
Yep.
Like, you're using
Threadguy.
one microphone. That's a one
Get off
microphone.
the
Are you trust it?
Is that,
Is that conviction?
Seems kind of scary. Why
Seems
don't you
kind of
diversify?
scary. Why don't you diversify? Why don't you use 10 microphones? Do you drive in 10 cars at the same time or one car at one time? Do you drive down one street? Aren't you afraid that you're driving down one street? You know? Do you take a different way? You get on one airplane? Are you convicted? You put your entire family into one airplane, aren't you afraid? When you use knives, do you have copper knives, wooden knives, steel knives, aluminum knives, rubber band knives, diamond knives because you're afraid to commit to the right knife? So my point really is, ultimately, if you're a rational individual, it's a tool.
Don't break my heart. I think much a heart. Looking on door like a rock star. Try to keep on the tropical gaga. Then I saw your face. For you I go hard. Don't break my heart. One time. I saw your eye. Yeah. 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 Fuck the downstairs neighbor, baby. Yo, what the fuck is good? How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? How are you all living, baby? Welcome back. What do you keep spamming as banned? What do you mean? What is banned? Why do you keep spamming banned? What is 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 banned? What's good? What's banned? What's good? Welcome, baby. Welcome back to the stream, man. Welcome. Oh, my title. Got it. No, it is banned. What do you mean it's not banned? Yeah, fuck yeah, it's banned. It fucking they came out and they said it's banned. whoa, what's good, baby? Welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to the fucking stream, baby. Welcome back, man. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's so good to see y'all beautiful faces. It's so good to be back in this stream. We have a lot to talk about today, and we're gonna do the first interview we've done in a clickbait ass. That's the whole point. It's the whole point, man. It's like, what do you want me to do, man? It's fucking rent ain't free. This house ain't free, man. Look, we have a lot to talk about today. We're also gonna do our first interview in a long time, okay? Which is the founder of Dragonfly, Hasib, is gonna come on. He is gonna come on today, and they are like the only crypto fund still standing. I'm not gonna lie, they're the only one still standing. He just raised $700 million, million with an M. And they are going to come on at the end of the stream. But before that, we have a lot to talk about, okay? I'm going to talk about OpenAI crypto. I'm going to talk about Apple winning AI by spending less money than they ever have. I'm going to talk about Stanley Druckenmiller, the best trader of all time with his 13F filings. I'm going to talk about Anthropic. I'm going to talk about Mr. Beast Bank. I'm going to talk about Hasib. We're going to talk about a lot. We have a lot to go into today. And everyone's been telling me I need to stream for longer. They're like, threadguy, you have to stream for longer. You have to do 3 hours. We have this new editor, and he's like making fun of me. Let's see, what do you got, Frank? Interesting. Okay. I'm just clickbaiting with the title, to be honest. You come in here and you're like, oh my god, it's Anthropic banned, and I tell you no, and then you're like, oh my god, threadguy, like, you gave me first source info, like, thank you. And I'm like, I got you. And they're like, I'm never going to leave the stream again. So that's what we do, man. Look, welcome back to the stream. We got a lot to talk about today. We got a lot to be excited about today. There's a lot going on in the world right now. There's a lot of crazy shit going on in the world. We might be talking fucking geopolitics before long. But look, we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to get into. Let's do roll call real quick. Roll call. I got to retweet the tweet. We got to do roll call. What's good? Frank, what's good? Spicy Meatball, what's good? Rockefeller, what's good? Kevin, what's good? Roll call. Cole Money, what's good? Crypto DJ Life, what's good? Alex NGMI, Kira, what's good? Viblet, my dog. J-Lad, what's up, homie? What's good? Sparky, what's good? Rectal Glizzy, I love that name. Rectal Glizzy, bro. Like, what? Bloom, what's good? Teo, what's good? Logic, what's good? DJ, what's good? Jackson Ray, what's good? Sherbert, what's good? Glorilla, what's good? Tom Brady, what's good? Teo, Glizzy. All right, everybody. I'm gonna be on. Okay, look, I'm just gonna be straight up with you guys. We have this new internal rule at the company that I have from the time the stream starts. I have 10 minutes to talk about something serious, and so that means I only get like 5 minutes to flow about slop. It's already almost up. Like, I have no time to talk about anything. I don't even have time to talk about my shoulder. I have a rule now. I have a clock. It's right above my face. You can't see it. It's on the back side. I have 10 minutes to talk about something serious. And if I can't get there, if I can't say what I want to say in 10 minutes, I lose it. It's like use it or lose it. So I don't even know what I'm going to say. I was going to come on here and talk about how I'm taking this China maxing thing seriously and applying it to dates. And I am going that direction. It's like I can't even get into flow on that topic. Like, what do you even want me to do? I was going to talk about how I can't even get into flow onto that topic. And so I don't really have much to say. I watched a clip of Clavicular go on Piers Morgan and say, maybe if you started asking me questions about ascending instead of some song that I sang, your wife wouldn't be cucking you out, which was kind of funny. Also, I called my mom today, who, by the way, watches every stream. Say hi to my mom. And she asked me, was it even real? I said the word clavicular, and she said, was it even real? And I was like, what do you mean? Was what real? And she's like, when Clavicular got frame mogged by the ASU frat president. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, I don't even know what's real on the internet anymore. And I was like, Mom, what? Let's just watch the clip really quick. It's actually really funny. And we'll move on. I have 2 minutes. I have 2 minutes. Here. It's really funny, actually. I have 2 minutes. I have like 45 seconds.
What you genuinely feel.
Well, the thing is, Piers, I'm not political, and I didn't play the song, so that's kind of all there is to it, right? And I find it quite silly to me that you're with the #1 looks maxer, and instead of asking how you could ascend so that, you know, your wife wouldn't tweet out captions like, when my husband's away, Mr. Sud comes out to play, Maybe if you asked me how to ascend, then that would stop happening to you. You know what I mean?
Okay, so, well,
First time Piers Morgan has ever heard a soundboard live on an interview. I promise you that. Piers Morgan has never heard a soundboard. He's never heard the fall in his life, bro.
Wife wouldn't tweet out captions like, when my husband's away, Mr. Sud comes out to play. Maybe if you asked me how to ascend, then that would stop happening to you. You know what I mean?
okay, so, well, you're distracting, and that's fine. You're having your fun. I've got no problem with that. But just to be
I mean, what would you even say about that? Like, I'm on an interview and I ask somebody, why did you do that racist thing? And he replies and he's like, hey, maybe if you got double jaw surgery and you lost 15 pounds, your wife wouldn't talk about how she's fucking other men on Instagram. And he goes, fuck. What? Brutal. I'd be brutal. I'm gonna be honest. I think he's hilarious. Genuine. I think he's hilarious. I think that the internet hasn't had a funny new main character in like 5 years. I think it's literally been 5 years, bro. The last time we had a entertaining main character come through, it was like Aiden Ross in 2020. And since then, there just like hasn't been much. I think Ron is really funny. Outside of that, bro, we have not had a fun main character in a very long time. This is part of the problem with crypto. We haven't had a fun main character in a long time. And the Clav thing is like, so I think we had to blow off the top on Clav, but I think it's so good. He's so fucking entertaining. And shout out to Conflict here. All right, my time's up. It's just fucking bullshit. I can't even get into a flow before anything happens. Let's just talk about the world and I can't even get into a flow, man. We got to work on this. My time's up. That's it. I don't get to talk about my date. I don't get to talk about how this weekend I'm ripping. I don't get to talk about how I'm smoking cigarettes now. I don't get to talk about anything, bro. It's so fucking whack. We'll talk about this off stream, but I think you guys like when I talk about slop for 45 minutes before the stream starts. Honestly, I think you guys like when I talk about slop for 45 minutes before the stream starts. So look, it is what it is, but I think you guys like when I talk about slop. Also, last thing, everyone's been on my ass where they're like, you don't stream for long enough. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, dude, every streamer in the world streams for 8 hours a day, and you fucking complain about, oh, 2.5 hours, I'm tired, da 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 da. Everyone complaining I don't stream for long enough. And so maybe at the end of the stream, we'll do like, I'll just stay on here longer today is what we're maybe going to do. Also, real text message I sent Malcolm yesterday is I said, I know we were trolling about the cigarette thing, but I'm watching Mad Men right now, and we should really just get addicted because it fucking looks fun. So, all right, let's go. Crypto number one. I have a title in my stream that says crypto is hot right now. Crypto's not hot, but the word crypto is hot. The market isn't hot, but the word crypto is hot. And so this announcement came out of OpenAI, funny enough. A crypto headline from OpenAI. This is the official. Let's go like this. Let me lock in. Let me lock the fuck in right now. Here's the official headline. It's a great headline. Official headline is Zoomer. OpenAI in collaboration with crypto firm Paradigm unveil EVM Bench, a tool to evaluate agent performance with smart contracts. Kind of a cool announcement if we're really looking at this for what it is. Like, let me So here we have, this is the fellow from Paradigm, Georgios. Surreal to see our work at Paradigm and Tempo, which is their L1, stablecoin L1 they're launching, in an OpenAI research paper about agents and EVM smart contract security. Smart contracts are critical infrastructure for the next 100 years of payments and finance. Love that Foundry helped move the needle here. So here's the article from OpenAI. I believe this is an OpenAI article. Introducing EVM Bench. Smart contracts routinely secure $100 billion plus in open source crypto assets, which you really think about it, that's a huge number, bro. $100 billion is a lot of money that is just sits on DeFi protocols. That's a lot of money that just sits there in DeFi protocols. Like, we actually take this for granted, I think. As AI agents improve at reading, writing, and executing code, it becomes increasingly important to measure their capabilities in economically meaningful environments and to encourage the use of AI systems defensively to audit and strengthen deployed contracts. So here's the announcement. It's together with Paradigm, we're introducing EVM Bench, a benchmark evaluating the ability of AI agents to detect, patch, and exploit high-severity smart contract vulnerabilities. EVM Bench draws on 120 curated vulnerabilities from 40 audits, with most sourced from open code audit competitions. It additionally includes several vulnerability scenarios from the security auditing process for the Tempo blockchain, a purpose-built L1, stable coins this, stable coins that. So basically what they announced is that, like, it's not a huge announcement. But so when they test how good these models are, they basically benchmark them on a series of tests like math and like reasoning and ability to do like 100 different things. And one of the benchmarks that they're going to be using when they put out how good and efficient and quality these models are is basically a blockchain audit. Okay, so they're basically going to be running these models and testing them on smart contracts and their ability to spot vulnerabilities, their ability to like deploy on smart contracts, to build on smart contracts, whatever. I think it's mostly a security thing, like spot vulnerabilities via smart contracts, which is kind of a cool thing. Like, okay, it doesn't really mean much for us at all. Like, nothing changes about crypto. This probably did nothing for WorldCoin, I would imagine, right? Let's see. WorldCoin. Is this ticker WOD? Is WOD? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it is. No, nothing for WorldCoin, of course. This token is just like perpetually cucked. But basically, like, somebody smart at OpenAI is thinking that crypto is important and that this is something that we should be able to test our models on and run our models through. And crypto matters, at least in some level, towards what's happening in AI. So, like, practically in the short term, it doesn't really mean anything. But long tail, we're not being forgotten, which is nice. Okay, we're not being forgotten. There are people at OpenAI that are realizing crypto is important. I think this is good for our narrative of agentic commerce, and all future AI models will be benchmarked at least on one vertical of their ability to interact with smart contracts. So overall, it's a win. Nothing crazy, but I don't know. When's the last time you saw a fucking positive crypto headline? I mean, we don't look great right now. I'm going to be honest. Bitcoin right now is 66K. We'll see how this thing acts amidst some geopolitical tension that's happening in Iran right now. Everything else is good. Gold fucking is responding well. Silver's responding well. I think oil's ripping. Where is it? Oil's ripping. Like, everything else looks good except for Bitcoin, of course. Not really doing much to it at all. Defense was green today. Palantir was green today. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a fun time to watch how Bitcoin responds amidst this. Yes, it is disappointing, but we've been ranging for a while, and there's some fucking tension in the world. I don't think we're gonna spend much, if any, time at all talking about Iran today, but it's a lot of my feed right now. It's a lot of my feed. Tensions are fucking brewing. I think there's other people talking about it. So if anything happens, we'll cover it. But you're kind of going to get a reaction from Bitcoin one way or another, right? Maybe tensions escalate and stocks get destroyed and Bitcoin also gets destroyed. But I don't know. At times, there's been moments where geopolitical tension has accelerated a lot and Bitcoin has done well. So look, yes, the crypto market is relatively boring and uninteresting right now. But the positive note is every single day, something new, fun, and exciting happens in AI. And guess what we're about to talk about right now? We're going to talk about AI, okay? And I have a segment for you guys. Also, real quick, if you're watching on Twitter and you want to chat, twitch.tv/threadguy. As you already know, let me drop it under my tweet. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to chat, twitch.tv/threadguy is the only chat that I do read. I have a segment for you guys on the AI side. It's like, look, we're getting to the point now where I'm ready to pick some fucking stocks. I'm ready to pick some fucking stocks. Nice sappy shirt, thank you. I'm ready to pick some fucking stocks, and I want to spend more time looking into who we think the winners are going to be here. Because I don't know. What did you think of the China segment yesterday before we move on? What did you think of China maxing yesterday? I thought that was the best video we've ever put out. I put that shit on YouTube, by the way. If you love me, play it in the background. I think that was the best segment we put out in a while and genuinely interesting. It was genuinely interesting, and I think it's going to help us a lot as we understand what's important moving forward here in the world, what people are valuing, what we should pay attention to. And so if you fuck with me, go like and reply to that. And I have a follow-up on the China maxing stream, okay? And the follow-up in the China maxing stream and on the AI stream is to tell you that in the race of super intelligence and AI, the company that wins might be the company that has spent the least amount of money working on AI, okay? And that company is Apple, chat. I'm fascinated with Apple. I'm obsessed with Apple right now. Okay? I got a fucking phone here. I got a 17 in the back. I got a Mac Mini on the way, and I'm fucking obsessed with Apple right now, okay? And this is China Tim, who, look, China Tim is not Steve Jobs, and China Tim has been taking insane amounts of heat over the last couple years, okay? Because as every company, which you are about to see, has ramped up their CapEx spending by a ridiculous amount. Everyone's pouring money into AI. Nobody can get enough money into AI, and Apple has sat here, and not only have they not poured more money into AI, they're actually spending less, okay? And everyone the whole way is like, what the fuck is Apple doing? Siri sucks. Apple is losing, Apple's losing, Apple's losing, Apple's losing. And as the dust has started to settle, the only takeaway you can have here is that, holy fuck, Apple might actually win this fucking thing, okay? I'm going to give you a quick overview of why I think Apple is one of the most fun companies on this AI race, okay? First and foremost, based off what we've been learning over the last couple weeks, and especially what we learned yesterday with China maxing, is that these models have become a commodity, okay? It's a race to fucking zero with infinite spend going into this, and the software part of it is basically commoditized, okay? We're going to be able to just intertwine, flip-flop, whatever model is the best at any given time, pop it into everything, and you win. Whoever's winning at any individual moment is winning. Everything else is commoditized on the model front, okay? The second thing we've learned with the immersion of OpenClaw is, okay, everybody was running GPT, everybody was running Claude, they were running these cloud LLMs. But the reason everybody loves OpenClaw is because it has memory. And the more data it has, the more it knows about you, the more it breaks your privacy rules and infiltrates every aspect of your life, the better it is, okay? And so the more data and apps it has access to, the better it is. Okay, and everybody already has an iPhone that has all of your data and all of your information, okay? And so what is very obviously going to happen at some point in the very near future here is the next iPhone, whether it be the 18, 19, whatever, is going to just launch with some OpenClaw-esque assistant utilizing the best model plugged into it, and it's going to probably be the best AI experience you've ever had, okay? On the back end of this, two things for Apple, and we'll go into some more niche stuff, is one, Apple is uniquely positioned as the consumer hardware king. Like, do I even have to do a poll? Who in here has an Apple device? I have two iPhones. I have two Mac laptops. I'm eventually going to have a Mac Mini. And I have two pairs of AirPods that I've lost. And every piece of hardware and tech that I own in my house is Apple. Okay, I think there's like 2.53 billion people in the world have an Apple device. It's something disgusting. And so, therefore, if you think about this, in a world where models and software is a commodity and interchangeable with no moat whatsoever, very similar to what's happened to crypto trading platforms, the winner is the one that just dominates in hardware and plugs in the best model, okay? And so, here's Apple. China Tim. Not Steve Jobs, but man, he's not Steve Jobs, but China Tim is on a Jenny run right now. Brother invented the AirPod, one of the greatest tech. I think AirPod, Malcolm said this to me earlier, AirPods make more money than every other headphone company in the world. And so, in a winner take most infrastructure race, the only moves are a brittle leverage full port capex and not playing at all, okay? And so not only has Apple not been keeping up with the CapEx increase from all of these major tech companies, they're actually spending less money. Okay. Over the last decade, Apple is spending 20% less. Okay. Amazon spending 42% more year over year, and they're involved with OpenAI. They're involved with basically every single AI company. Microsoft is deeply embedded with OpenAI. They own a large percentage of it. They're up 90% spend in the last year. Google is building Gemini. Okay, they're pouring fucking money into this. They're up 100% CapEx spend in the last year. Meta building Llama, which has fallen way behind, but was in the news everywhere with these massive MBA stuff. Brother, Facebook Meta was giving out $100 million a year to these AI researchers, and to many of them, they're giving out they're giving out bigger contracts than Mahomes. They're giving out bigger contracts than LeBron. They're bigger than sports contracts. Okay, so basically every major tech company in the US has taken every dollar they could possibly get their hands on. They've stopped doing buybacks. They've cut spending, and they have poured all of it directly into trying to build the best model, which is increasingly seeming like it's a race to the bottom. These things get commoditized. Okay. Now, China, Tim, and Apple are like, fuck that. We're spending less. Okay. We're spending less. 20% less to be exact over the last decade. And a crazy stat, just for you to get the scale of what I've learned about Apple, is that Apple is spending less than 8% of Google's entire 2026 AI budget on everything. Less than 8% on their entire company. Less than 8% of what Google is spending on AI for this year alone, Apple is spending on their entire company. Okay. And so they basically decided to completely not play. And they're deciding to completely not play looked so bad for so long. Like Apple was getting shit on. I still have a Siri. Siri's a joke. It's probably listening to me. Siri's a joke. And so it puts them in a sick spot, right? Where Google and all these private companies are spending more money than they have. They're committing more money than they have on racing to super intelligence. Okay. Then Apple's sitting back and they can do two things. One, at any moment, they could just snap their fingers and they could put an OpenClaw-like device, all-purpose AI assistant wrapper into 2.5 billion active devices right now. Like they could push a software update and they could put OpenClaw into every iPhone in the world right now. Just one click and it's the best AI tool that you have, not even close. One click. One click. You do it one click. If OpenClaw was an app on the App Store, it'd be the most downloaded app ever. Or the fastest app to hit 1 million downloads, fastest app to hit 10 million downloads. It probably wouldn't even be close. Okay? The second thing for Apple is that while everyone races to get to build the next model, launch the next model, PvP for the next model, Apple's basically sitting here with $150 billion in cash where nobody has any money. Everyone is squeezed to the tits. Nobody can afford to spend anything anymore. And they have $150 billion cash just sitting there. So they could just, oh, cool. Peter Steinberger, OpenClaw, that's cool tech. Come work at Apple. Oh, cool. The Sigil guy who just launched Web4 Ajax, come work at Apple. Oh, cool. Like Alexander Wang, you and Scalar, come work at Apple. They have $150 billion. Nobody else has any money. They're like the last one standing with infinite. They can go snipe whoever they want, pick up whoever they want. And it leaves them in like a very unique spot where, I don't know, I feel like they've been getting slept on the whole way. They're put in a very unique spot where they can basically do whatever they want and they can one click activate all devices, all Apple devices with the best model. And so China Tim, kind of on a sun run, man. And so this is something I've been learning about recently, which is like, okay, because they aren't spending on building a model, everyone has sort of just assumed that they're well behind, as we've covered. But as we learned yesterday, and as we've been learning, the biggest bottleneck in this race to superintelligence is RAM and compute. And so what does Apple go do is this motherfucker locks in and they go get deals done with like the biggest Chinese memory chip manufacturers, YMTC and CXMT. Okay. Huge deals. The other thing that they do is they basically put their most powerful chip that they've ever made, the M5, into the cloud. And so anyone with an Apple device has access to basically supercompute in the cloud. And so you never really have to leave the Apple 360 all-in-one experience, right? And the only thing that they're missing is turning on the local model. Throwing a wrapper on Claude or OpenAI or Gemini or whatever it is that they want to use. One click, and they have the entire ecosystem built. Okay? And you really see the entire ecosystem built when you see this right here. Okay? Which is Apple ramps up work on glasses, pendant, and camera AirPods for the AI era. Okay, so imagine this. It's like you have your iPhone that has your local like OpenClaw-esque Apple Claw assistant in it. It has all your personal data. It has your health. It has your messages. It has your app usage. It has your screen time. It has your social. It has your email. It has anything that you've ever used locked in, downloaded, processed, and spitting out the best data possible. Okay? It then can connect to your AirPods and speak to you directly in your ear. Okay? Your AirPods have a camera in it. Camera AirPods. Your AirPods have a camera in it, so it knows where you are. It can see what you're doing. It can help you with like trivial tasks. Okay? At some point, we're going to get the glasses that are really good. We're going to get the Apple glasses. You're wearing the glasses, and so it can see what you're doing. It can talk to you. It has all of your information in your phone and your call history, your messaging history, your email history, everything. And it basically has the capability to be the most useful and productive assistant that you could ever possibly have, and nobody can really come close. Like, there's no way for me to audibly through Telegram speak to my OpenClaw and give it the depth of information that Apple has by running the full stack when I turn this thing on. We can watch the video. I haven't actually watched this yet. I think it's relatively new. It's like 2 days.
From this. Yeah, there's the event and how they'll do it, right? Different to the kind of keynote style format in Cupertino, but it's harder, the products. And I think you were on very recently kind of telling us what we should expect from this.
Yeah, there's a lot in the pipeline for the first half of this year. I don't think that everything is going to show up at this event. There's just too much stuff for you to have in one showcase. But if you think about why would you need an event? Why would you need an in-person experience in 3 different places, right? Hotspots, London, Shanghai, New York, right? These are as big of metropolitan areas in the world as you can get. It means they're launching something pretty significant. So my eyes are on this new low-cost MacBook. It'll be in the $700 to $900 range. It will be their first MacBook powered by an iPhone chip. It'll be slightly smaller than the MacBook Air, but the price point
MacBook powered by an iPhone chip
is a really big deal. This has the potential to really overshadow Chromebooks and some of the PCs we're seeing out of the Windows market right now. So this is a really big deal. The other new things that are in the pipeline for the first half of this year, new MacBook Pros, new MacBook Airs, the iPhone 17e.
And so they have this product announcement on March 14th. Okay. And dude, it just feels like a big deal. And the last take I want to say on the Apple thing on winning hardware is that as this OpenClaw rise has accelerated over the last really couple weeks, really the last month, there's been this increased emphasis on running your shit locally, like running local devices, having your full stack local. And every influencer in the world, every AI developer in the world just runs on the Apple stack. You already have a Mac, you already have an iPhone, and so you just get the Mac Mini. You go to the Apple store, you get the Mac Mini, that's what you run as your local device. And it's impossible to miss it. You just like don't skip out on Apple anywhere in your stack. I mean, it's what I did. Like, I don't know. It's what I did. I had an iPhone. I have a fucking Mac. 2 iPhones. I have 2 Macs. And I'm running my OpenClaw on my Mac. But eventually, I'm just going to be running it on the Mac Mini. And so, they have basically, despite themselves, ended up in the best possible position to win the AI race by not working on AI at all. They didn't work on AI at all. and they've ended up in the God spot. And so I feel like we're one Apple announcement away from snapping their fingers, putting some sort of wrapper on an LLM into 2.5 billion devices worldwide, and everyone being like, holy fuck, Apple is going to win. And you know what's crazy is, I mean, look, I'm obviously not the first person to come to this conclusion, is that they haven't really done much at all. The narrative has been that they're behind. And I mean, they're a $3.5 trillion company. This is what the chart looks like. And so I think Tulip King is long right now. And they've also like forced their way into China, bro. Like, I quote tweeted this. They've forced their way into China as well. Yeah, Tulip King is long Apple calls. Here. Tim Cook, happy year of the horse to everyone celebrating. It's like, bro, he went out to China, shook hands, kissed babies, got these massive compute contracts in China, and then he's posting shit like this. I mean, that was cinema, right? Like, that was cinema. And so I'm in this spot right now where I feel so underexposed to AI. And yes, Apple is a $3.5 trillion company. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. And I'm not exactly sure you could call it cheap. But it starts to look unstoppable if they are right about the bets that they've made. And I'm not even sure how calculated it was, man. For a while, it felt like they were just behind. Honestly, for a while, it felt like they were just behind. And everybody else is just lapping them. And Chinese Tim is frozen and doesn't know what to do. Google's lapping them. Everyone's lapping them. And then, I don't know, DeepSeek happens. And then Kimi happens. And then Minimax happens. And all of a sudden, it's like, wow, all of these models are open source, and we're probably in a way better spot by not even playing the fucking game. Because that's the thing. I like the tweet. Balloon Lover. You either kill everyone in the pursuit of winning, or you don't fucking play at all. And they just didn't play. And so the winner of the superintelligence race might just be the company that's spending negative money on building out AI. They're spending less money than they were before AI was hot. It's pretty impressive. So that is Chinese Tim and Apple. Also, if you're just tuning in and you're watching on Twitter and you would like to chat, twitch.tv/threadguy. Okay. Second, this is something that's new to me today. But we just had the 13F filings come in. Okay, and so we have a 13F filing from Stanley Druckenmiller, one of the greatest traders of all time. Like, literally one of the greatest traders of all time. And so a 13F is required filing, as I understand it, from every institutional investment manager with over $100 million assets under management. And they have to file it every quarter and only on the long side. Okay, so if you manage $100 million plus of assets, you have to come out and you have to file what you are long, not short, but what you are long every quarter. And so we just got the filings from Druckenmiller, from Bill Ackman, from Brad Gerstner, and all of these guys from Q4 2025. So they're like a couple months old. Okay. But this is Stanley Druckenmiller, who I've become a huge fan of. I heard about him from the first time from Mando. And I mean, let's just go over his stats real quick. Let's go over his pound for pound statistics, okay? What I'm about to tell you is a true, verifiable, statistically provable number. Okay, Stanley Druckenmiller performance was an average of 30% gains year over year from 1981 to 2010. That means for 30 years straight, he returned 30% compounding year over year. Okay, and in those 30 years, Stanley Druckenmiller never had a red year. He never lost money once. He never lost money in 30 years. He never had a red year from 1981 to 2010. Okay, and the dot-com crash and the 2008 crash. He never had a red year for 30 years straight, brother. 29 years straight. Okay, and in 1981, okay, on his own book, from what I've read, he was managing 900K and ran it up to 12 Bs. 900K to 12 Bs, assets under management, at the end of 2010. I mean, one of the GOATs. Okay, one of the GOATs. And so, Stanley Druckenmiller is most known for working under George Soros and working with Scott Bessent, who's in the White House right now, and making one of the greatest trades ever, which is $1 billion P&L shorting the British pound in 1992. Made a B in one trade under George Soros. It's like the legendary trade. I've heard everybody talk about it. I've never actually got the info on it. I have like a 5-minute video. Do y'all want to watch it? I have a 5-minute video on the trade, and then we can look at his filings. I think it's a heater. I actually think it's a heater. Let's go. Let's watch it. Let's watch it.
That would later open the door for
I skipped to like the intro stuff.
Currency within the agreed range. A challenge that would later open the door for Soros and Druckenmiller to make one of the greatest trades of all time. It's October of 1990. Margaret Thatcher was serving her third consecutive term as Prime Minister of the
he's 10 years into 30% year over year.
United Kingdom, and despite considerable pressure, had resisted joining the European monetary system, which would peg the sterling pound to the currencies of neighbouring countries. She could see that joining would create an impossible task for the Bank of England, which would have to simultaneously strengthen the pound and stimulate a quickly deteriorating British economy. But other members of the Conservative political party she led saw things differently. And with her power weakening within the party, she finally conceded. The United Kingdom became a member of the exchange rate mechanism. The United Kingdom joining the ERM was a transparent display of the problems created by a currency peg of this nature. The year they joined, 1990, Germany was in the process of re-establishing as a unified sovereign state. The west of Germany had been booming under capitalism, while the eastern region was considerably behind in economic terms. The newly unified Germany used its economic strength to borrow and invest in the development of eastern Germany. And as the German economy expanded rapidly, their currency, the Deutsche Mark, became stronger and stronger. At the same time, the United Kingdom had fallen into recession. The end of the Cold War and an oil price shock had hit many Western economies, including the United States and other European countries. This put the Bank of England in an impossible situation. They would love to lower their interest rates to stimulate the economy. Lower rates would reduce mortgage payments for households and lower borrowing costs for businesses, which would help the UK return to growth. But lowering interest rates would also weaken the British pound, as the rate of return you could earn by holding British bonds would be lower, and the central bank couldn't let the pound decline in value because it would slip outside of the range.
These are the trades we gotta make, chat.
Exchange rate mechanism. But not only was the UK unable to use their tools to stimulate the economy, they actually had to do the complete opposite. As Germany's currency got stronger and stronger, it became an anchor for the currency agreement, dragging up the target rate for the other 11 European countries. Between 1990 and 1992, the British pound frequently hit the bottom end of the target range, and each time the Bank of England was forced to buy more pounds with its foreign exchange reserves to prop up the value of the currency. As time went on, it became clear that this was an unsustainable path. If the British economy was ever to find its way out of recession, it needed to be able to let its currency fall in value. The question every trader was trying to answer was when. In August of 1992, Stanley Druckenmiller initiated a bet against the British sterling pound. He was working under George Soros in the Quantum Fund, where he could build relatively small positions. If Soros thought a trade made by one of his sub-managers was promising, then he'd become involved in increasing his firm's exposure. Druckenmiller bet the equivalent of 1.5 billion US dollars that the pound would devalue, that it would go down in price. And this type of trade is called a short position. Here's how it works. Soros would first borrow some British pounds, in this case about the equivalent of $1.5 billion. So now he had a loan in British pounds that he had to pay back at some point in the future. He took the British pounds and used it to buy the German mark currency. So he's now exchanged his British pounds into the German mark, but he still had to pay back that British loan at some point. The hope is that the British pound decreases in value relative to the German mark, so that when he exchanges his money back,
Forex trades are crazy. Yeah, this is trading currencies is out of my league. I'm not gonna lie.
Into pounds, he has more than the value of the loan he originally took out. He'd then pay off the loan with some of his pounds and keep the difference as profit. Now that the bet was in place, all they needed was a catalyst. Something to start an avalanche of British pound selling, enough to force the UK to leave the European exchange rate agreement. And it didn't take long for that catalyst to arrive. It's the 15th of September 1992. A journalist from the Handelsblatt newspaper sits down for an interview with Helmut Schlesinger, the president of the German central bank. He completes the interview and believes that he is now speaking off the record when he makes a vague comment about the European currency problems. He says that a wider devaluation of the Italian lira and other currencies would have been helpful to Germany. What the president of the Bundesbank didn't realize was that his remark was recorded on tape. Werner Benkhoff, the journalist, recorded the comment with the belief that this was part of the interview, and he prepared to publish the story all around the world. This was the catalyst George Soros had been waiting for. Leading up to this notorious interview, Italy...
What? Wait, what was his name?
He completes the interview for an interview with Helmut Schlesinger, the president of the German central bank.
The president of the German central bank thought he was off the record and basically said the currency is about to collapse. And an interviewer recorded it and then published it around the world.
Completes the interview and believes that he says that a wider devaluation of the Italian lira and other currencies would have been helpful to Germany. What the president of the Bundesbank didn't realize was that his remark was recorded on tape. Werner Benkhoff, the journalist, recorded the comment with the belief that this was part of the interview, and he prepared to publish the story all around the world. This was the catalyst George Soros had been waiting for. Leading up to this notorious
That's like the God insider info of all insider info.
Interview, Italy had also been struggling to maintain its currency strength to stay in the exchange rate mechanism. On the 13th of September, the Italian lira had fallen 7%, and anyone holding onto the currency had lost a lot of money. So the fear of a British pound devaluation was beginning to grow. And while somewhat vague, a statement from the German central bank that these other currencies needed to fall further could be enough to start a cascade of selling. On hearing this news, the British government urged Germany to deny the statement before it hit the news cycle, but they couldn't, because the comment was recorded. It's the morning of the 16th of September.
Is that legal, what he just did? Like, you say something, you don't clarify it's off the record, and you're like, stop, I didn't want to say that. And the guy's like, too bad I recorded it. Too bad I recorded it. No, I'm posting it. Too bad. No, it's recorded. I don't care if you fucking run the central bank. That is what?
Rumors of devaluation are now circulating in full force. For large institutions like hedge funds and pension funds, there was really no reason.
He's like, no, it's recorded. No, it's recorded.
To hold on to the pound that day. There was no upside. There was only the risk of holding it. So everyone started selling their pounds. Soros took the Bundesbank comments as his cue to go big with his firm's short position.
And we took our cue, actually, from the Bundesbank.
He increased the bet to the
I've never heard him speak before. Is that actually what he sounds like?
equivalent of $7 billion US dollars, as well as $500 million invested in British stocks. The nominal value of this bet was bigger than the total assets under management in the Quantum Fund at the time, but only required an upfront collateral of $1 billion. The $500 million he invested in British stocks also likely pay off if the pound is devalued. British companies exporting goods would earn more in pound terms, and higher domestic prices would lead to higher stock prices. And it wasn't just Soros. Many traders were participating in the same trade, betting that it would decline by borrowing pounds and selling them. And so began a financial fight for the ages. The Bank of England needed to defend the pound by buying lots of it. They could do this by using their foreign exchange reserves, £19 billion worth of gold and other currencies held by the government. When the market opened, the Bank of England decided to use its foreign exchange reserves to buy £1 billion. But there was so much selling that it evaporated in minutes. It made no practical dent in the value of the pound, and it continued to slide. They realized that buying British pounds wasn't going to be enough to stop the decline. They needed to use their other lever, raising interest rates. And this was very controversial. The UK already had an interest rate benchmark of 10%. Increasing the rate any further would be punishing to households with mortgages. The Bank of England...
Yeah, what do we have right now? 3%? What are the interest rates in the US right now? 10 is insane. What's the famous, like, 1980s were 3.5 to 3.75? What's the famous, like, Volcker jacked it to like 12 or 13%, and he's like the legendary hawk Fed chair?
Sought approval from the Prime Minister, who agreed to raise interest rates from 10% to 12% at 11 o'clock in the morning. But the interest rate rise had the exact opposite effect. A 2% interest rate hike is significant, and it indicated, particularly to traders all around the world, that the Bank of England was becoming desperate. So many traders began doubling down on their bets. By midday, the Bank of England...
By the way, if we woke up tomorrow and next FOMC and they raised interest rates an additional 2%, we're cooked.
Was now burning through £2 billion of their foreign exchange reserves every hour. At this pace, the country's foreign exchange reserves would be completely depleted before the end of the day. In a final act of desperation, Prime Minister John Major decided to raise interest rates again, this time a 3% hike, raising the benchmark.
Bro, if the price of Bitcoin, if we woke up tomorrow and interest rates were 8.5% instead of 3%, GG. Actually, GG. 40 candle to 40K. Candle to 40K.
To 15%. But it didn't work, and the pound continued to fall.
Like 40K in one candle, bro.
Throughout the afternoon. The Bank of England
like
had
a 15-minute candle, dog. We're testing the sailor entry at 8K.
Now spent a shocking 15
Is that legal? Can they just do whatever they want? The Fed can just do whatever they want. It's not like we never really tested the limit of this. Can they just raise any amount that they want? Raise or drop any amount that they want?
£1 billion.
Is that legal?
And was running out of money. It was now inevitable. The UK would have to leave the exchange rate mechanism. They could no longer defend the pound. And it went into freefall until the markets finally closed for the day. Ultimately, the British sterling fell by 15% against the German marks currency and by 20% relative to the US dollar. Soros and Druckenmiller made $1.5 billion from the trade in the month of September 1992. If you enjoyed the video, consider hitting subscribe, and here's 2 other videos
Bro did a 20-minute build-up. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, they made $1.5 billion in a day. If you enjoyed the video, please like or subscribe. Oh. God. 1.2 billion on a 10% move, by the way, is disgusting. That is one of the most famous trades I've ever heard about, is the Stanley. Is that legal? Oh my God. Oh, Lord. What a fucking trade. So that's Stanley Druckenmiller. Wait, there's a good video. I think it's a good video. Let me watch it real quick.
The biggest mistake I ever made in the business, and I knew better. Somebody asked me what I learned from this. I said, nothing. I already knew it. In January
What'd you learn from this? He said, nothing. I already knew it.
of 2000, after riding that tech boom to a T and making billions of dollars in 99, I sold everything out in January. And I had a couple of internal portfolio managers at Soros who didn't sell out, and they had these, it was a smaller portfolio, but they made 30% after I sold. And I just couldn't stand it anymore. And I'm like watching.
Newton re-enters with a lot. Newton exits happy, and then Newton re-enters with a lot.
I make all this money every day. And like for 2 days, I'm like ready to pick up the phone and buy this stuff back. And, you know, there's a little devil there, and then the angel, and she's saying, don't do it. And he's saying, buy it. And I I pick up the phone and I buy them. I might have missed the top of the dot-com bubble by an hour. I ended up losing $3 billion on that trade alone. I had made more the year before, but $3 billion is a lot of money. And it was all because I got emotional and dropped every tool of discipline I've ever had. Somebody says, well, what did you learn from it? And I just said, I learned nothing. I learned that 25 years ago.
Yeah, the GOAT. That's Druck. This fella right here. He's the GOAT. And he's built different. And so Druckenmiller filed his 13F, and we can see what he holds. And no, he's not coming on, bro. At some point, we'll get him on. But so we just got his 13F from Q4 2025. And he's basically long Brazil is what he's long. He's buying emerging markets right now. He's long Brazil is what he's long. Feijao made a post about this. Here it is. He's rotating out of mega cap tech. Long equal weight performance versus market cap. Long financials for deregulation and curve steepening. And long real cyclical assets. He's basically long Brazil. He's long Brazil, emerging markets, and he's basically like anti-Mag 7. And so my portfolio or my thesis on Apple is like the opposite of what he's trading right now. I think he has Nvidia. Yeah, rotation away from mega cap concentration into financials, commodities, equal weight breadth, airlines, semis, energies, like long energy and physicals, infrastructure. They also published Bill Ackman and they published Brad Gerstner's as well. I think that's kind of the bar. That's kind of the bar, which is like if you got to file a 13F, you're doing all right at the end of every quarter. If you got to publish a 13F, but the Brazil thing is interesting to me because I don't know anything about this. EWZ. I don't know. We've never talked about Brazil ever before. Brazil is a dangerous play. It assumes you can counter the Chinese influence that has already taken control. He may know something in the short term. South America seems interesting since USA is reenacting Monroe Doctrine for Western Hemisphere. He has Albemarle stock. Do you remember the Albemarle meme? No, I don't. Why do you always say things twice? Because I'm a streamer, bro. This is what I'm supposed to do. So maybe at some point here we get a Brazil trader on. I don't know. Who's posting about this? EWZ. Let's see. Unfortunately, you can't see his entry. This is Brazil ETF. Hey, look at this shit. He had to file at the end of 24. Or he had to file at the Q4 2025. And so he had to file sometime between October, November, December. Like somewhere around here. Somewhere in this range is where he had to publicize he was in. Yeah, somewhere in this box. And so, fucking please. It's playing out. He has more Brazil exposure than AI exposure. Yeah. I mean, this is ultimately going to be our question to figure out. Is are we really going higher and we just pour into big caps? I don't know. It just feels like if we're really long AI, we just long the obvious fucking stuff. Nvidia, Apple, etc. Or are we just going further out in the risk curve and we're fucking long Brazil? I don't know anything about Brazil. But that's Stanley Druckenmiller. And that's his 13F filing. Focus on humanoids. I don't know anything about robotics. Who here has robotics exposure? Anthropic. You can do Anthropic real quick. Hold on. How do you get good robot exposure? I don't know. So, okay, do you have the tweet of that guy pulling it back? Frank said it at the beginning of chat. He was like, some Anthropic employee pulled it back, I think, and said, no, 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 no. Don't panic. You don't have to panic. Let me see if I can find it. What makes 0 cents with ban OpenClaw? Okay, well, look, here's the announcement. This came out today, and they said, major Claude Code policy clear up from Anthropic. Quote, using OAuth tokens obtained through Claude Free Pro or Max accounts in any other product, tool, or service, including the agent SDK, is not permitted. Basically, they came out and they said, if you are using Claude and OpenClaw, we're going to fucking ban you. And everybody was like, what the fuck? Okay, worst week of all time. First, they go into beef with the US military, okay? And then they lose OpenClaw to OpenAI. And then they come out and ban OpenClaw. And everybody's like, what the fuck? I got it. Thank you. Everyone's like, what the fuck? And so there's like crazy freak out because, I mean, look, OpenClaw was the biggest layup that Anthropic has ever gotten before. For fuck's sake, the name was Claudebot. It was Claudebot at first. They made him change it. Then it was Moltbot or whatever. And then now it's OpenClaw. It was the biggest layup the company has ever gotten. It's the biggest layup you could ever get ever. Someone builds a wrapper on top of your product and it's better than your product. Everyone's using your product by default. And they fumbled it really bad. Okay, Miss Anthropic is right. They should have bought Peter Steinberger and OpenClaw, but they didn't. Okay. And so then they come out and they're like, if you're using it, you're going to get fucking banned. And I mean, bro, people freaked out. People freaked out. And they then came out with an announcement and they said this. And this fellow works on Claude Code at Anthropic. And he said, apologies. This was a docs cleanup we rolled out that's caused some confusion. Nothing is changing how you can use the agent SDK and Max subscriptions. So I don't know if this was them backing up and saying, whoa, 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 sorry, we fucked up. Or if the plan the whole time was it was an honest mistake. But they basically immediately came out, an employee that worked at Claude Code, and said, whoa, chill the fuck out. We're not banning it. And honestly, thank God. Because I just love Claude. It's the best. Opus 4.6 is the best model. It's the best model. Grok fucking sucks. OpenAI or ChatGPT is frustrating. Codex is slow. And Opus 4.6 is the best. And so, mistake, no mistake, I don't really know. But honestly, thank God that they didn't fuck it up. Because it would have been kind of brutal, I'm not going to lie. It would have been kind of brutal. In the meantime, okay, we have a couple other things. We can transition into crypto right now. We had something interesting come out for the first time in a while, I think. We had something interesting come out, crypto related, for the first time in a while. Thoughts on Gemini? I actually don't know. I've never really used Gemini. Chat, has anyone here used Gemini? Or no? I've never used it. I remember when everyone was using Nano Banana for a while. I've never actually used it before. Maybe I should, but dude, I've never used it because Opus is just so good. It's just so good. I just like auto default to it, and I've never really felt a need to use it. I'm gonna be honest. When Anthropic was looking like they were gonna ban OpenClaw, my first reaction was, fuck it, we're using the Chinese models, bro. I tweeted this. My first reaction was, fuck it, I'm using Kimi, bro. That was my first reaction. I'm using Kimi. I tweeted this. I said, Anthropic just squeezed all OpenClaw users into replacing Claw with a Chinese model. I was about to take this Chinese model to this Chinese maxing thing to heart, brother. Fuck it. C-Dance, fuck it. ByteDance, fuck it. Kimmy 2.5. I was about to take it to heart. It feels inevitable, by the way. I'm just going to say it. It feels inevitable that every American is just using Chinese models. I mean, every American already uses Chinese social media. I guess TikTok is brought back, but it's already been done. Like, we're not using Grok. Nobody is using Grok for anything, bro. Grok is ass. Grok is ass, okay? I don't know. Grok is ass. Elon, I'm a big fan. I love you join the pod. Grok is ass. Grok does nothing well. It's retarded. The only thing you can do is, like, crack some edgy jokes and, like, it's, like, not afraid to, like, say some shit that's, like, semi-racist. That's it. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything else. It's, like, down to make a sexist joke. And everyone's like, oh, Grok's so funny and edgy. It's like, no, bro. Grok does nothing well. It's good at search, but so is XAPI's public. It's not better than XAPI. It's not. It's just not. So, all right. Here we go. We had an announcement come out today, which is kind of a cool launch, which is this fellow Sigil. AI crypto. Cool to see. And he comes out and he says, I built the first AI that earns its existence. Self-improves and replicates without a human. Wrote about the technology that finally gives AI right access to the world. The automation and the new web for exponential sovereign AIs. Web 4.0, the birth of superintelligence life. Okay, and now look, we didn't even do Web 3, right? So fuck it, let's just skip Web 3, but okay, here it is. Web 4.0, AI reads, writes, and owns without humans. By 2028, autonomous AI agents will outnumber humans online. It'll probably happen first. So AI cannot buy a server, register a domain, deploy its own code, pay for the computer it runs on, exists without a human logging in. So here you can own an on-chain identity, pay an X402 service with USDC, spin up a full Linux compute, run frontier model inference, register and manage domains, deploy product to the web. The automation, the first AI that can earn its existence, self-improve, and replicate without a human. Video kind of sucks, huh? Soon, the majority of businesses launched, apps shipped, and products sold won't come from humans or companies. Just an automation that found a way to survive. And so, I wrote a couple things down on this. Basically, as I understand it, it's a way for agents to make money using crypto, pay for compute, make more money, pay for compute, make more money, pay for compute, make more money, pay for compute. Whole thing automatically on chain, which is not really possible right now because the AI can't do anything without human interference. And so he basically, like, as Tulip King explained it to me, made a sandbox to host your agent in his sandbox and use X402. And so he wrote a full essay. So basically, ChatGPT cannot run without you prompting it. Claude Code cannot deploy code without you giving it access. OpenClaw cannot do anything unless you give it API keys. This ends today. The missing infrastructure that lets AI act in the real world by itself. Is Twitter down? No. Conway Terminal is what it's called. Transforms an agent from a sandbox model into a sovereign economic actor. From one command, it gives AI a key and identity, permissionless payments via OpenX402, compute, and you can deploy into the real world. Conway unlocks something bigger, a sovereign AI that could exist without a human. So we're basically calling it the first AI that can exist without a human and do things on its own, and it's using crypto. And so it runs continuously, builds products, deploys services, trades markets, calls businesses, writes social media, whatever it takes to pay for its own compute. It self-improves, rewrites its own code, upgrades to the newest models and tools. It self-replicates. It funds child agents with their own wallets and survival pressure. A self-sustaining network pruned by natural selection. A lot of slop here, honestly. But basically, it's a sick narrative, and it's a smart teal-backed, which is hot right now, AI developer that does follow me, basically building a way for agents to exist autonomously on-chain using X402 and agentic payments. And that is kind of like our entire narrative right now. And I don't think it's happening on the Solana blockchain. I think it's happening on an EVM. And the code tweets on this thing are kind of insane. Like, let's see. I don't think my Twitter's down. No, my Twitter works. Fuck yeah, my Twitter works. No, it actually doesn't. That's crazy. That's so whack. What's good with this, by the way? Cloudflare is breaking every day. What's good with this? Last time I'm trying to watch YouTube, I couldn't watch YouTube. Why? Why? My shit's down. I couldn't watch YouTube last night. Like, what is actually happening with Cloudflare? Is it a compute thing? Like, is this what's happening? China DDoS? Like, what's going on? Cloudflare stock is also down. Is everything down? What's the stock? What's the ticker? This is why you need to run local models, by the way. Net is the ticker. Damn, that's a sick ticker. This is Cloudflare. That doesn't really look down to me. Also, this going down makes me feel like we should buy it. Like, the more it goes, it's like the OpenSea problem, right? The more it goes down, the more it's getting used. I feel like we should buy, like, you should buy this probably, right? This goes down in the entire world. Like, the world can't run. You don't even realize how dependent we are on the internet until it fucking goes down. The world literally can't run. Also, it has an unreal ticker physiognomy. Now, look, regardless, there was a token deployed, as there always is, for this Conway thing. And let's see, what did it top at? It went pretty high. All things considered, it went to like 10 mil. And the Iceman is back. And he tweeted. He doesn't tweet very much. He has 5 tweets. And he was up a lot at one point. I think he's still up 150%. So he comes out, he makes a post, and he says, he's still holding it. And he says, there is a simple saying I like to live by. Quote, do your fucking job. If you have 10 cents to your name and it's all in Conway, your job is not to tag the dev every 10 minutes asking him to claim fees. If you are the CEO of a $50 billion exchange that is rumored to be shutting down its own chain because of underperformance, base, maybe your job could be to tag, sigil, and offer your support staff in a war room setting for the needs he will be facing due to increased demand. Everyone has a job here. Let's not fuck this one up. I think this is his first official tweet, bro. I mean, this is probably trader of the last quarter or two. Is it going to let me load his Twitter? No. And yeah, I mean, he rounded a lot of money. He's up, let's see. He's up 66K on a $46,000 buy that he bought at 1.6 mil. And it's at 4 mil right now. So he's up 66K. He's up 120 something % on this trade. But man, like, until further notice, we just can't really do that much talking about on chain. We can't. There's just not that much worth talking about. If this dev came out and backed the coin, it would be a molt book. It wouldn't have been molt book, but it would have been exciting. But until further notice here, there's just better opportunities in the market, I think, that isn't on chain. I'm just watching the on-chain traders drive themselves fucking nuts. I'm watching them drive themselves nuts. And then we show up every day with so much content, I don't even know what to talk about. Like, I'm not even sure what to cover, when to cover it. And so, cold post, but I mean, on-chain's a disaster right now. I think crypto is actually in a uniquely decent spot, but the on-chain traders, I mean, it's fucking hell right now. You mentioned Zcash. We'll do that as an outro. We're gonna get to Zcash. Balaji posted a video. Who's a big deal, former CTO of Coinbase. The choice is clear. It's Zcash or communism, which is so cold. But look, I said it before. I'll say it again. That I think crypto is actually uniquely positioned right now in a very cool spot. And so what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna bring on Hasib from Dragonfly. He runs Dragonfly. They just raised a $700 billion fund to deploy into crypto. And they're basically the only fund still crushing right now. Sorry, million. Sorry. Dude, obviously it's not billion. Obviously it's not billion. But they just raised $700 million to deploy into crypto. I don't even know how you could deploy that into crypto if you wanted to. You couldn't. I don't even know how you deploy $700 million. And so, dude, like, here's the thing. A lot of smart people have left crypto recently, which kind of sucks. It does suck. A lot of smart people, a lot of talented VCs have sort of publicly stepped away. Kyle was the most recent one. He still runs forward, but he stepped away from Multicoin. There's a lot of people that have stepped away, but some of the GOATs are here just like grinding, and Hasib and them just raised this massive round. And I'm going to bring him on because I think he paints a pretty optimistic picture about crypto, that if there was anyone worthy of hearing from, it's probably this guy. So we're going to bring Hasib on. I'm going to get up real quick, take a break. I'll be on in like 30 seconds. I'll be back in 30 seconds and we'll bring him on. All right, BRB. Just open the chart. It's minus 20%. Carvana's at minus 20%. Don't worry about the song. Fine, you want to know? Fine. 1 second. Go. Take a picture. Bye. What happened to Carvana, huh? We'll give Hasib a couple minutes to join. Let's see. Carvana. I think I rented a car from Carvana before. Is that what that is? Let's see. Oh my God, look at this. Oh, he's in? Oh, my bad. Look at this. What just happened? Yeah, Rip Chumba. Oh my gosh. What happened? Is it like Waymo? Whoever said Rip Chumba's a ball knower, actually. Shout out to Chumba. Oh, they just had earnings. This is one of the crazy charts of all time, by the way. And then I gotta hit Hasib, I'm bullshitting now. Carvana. Look at this chart. One of the craziest charts like I've in the history of markets. Look at this shit. We should do a Carvana stream one day, huh? This thing went down 98%, bro. 98%. Disgusting. All right. Let's go. Let's get it. Hasib from Dragonfly coming out right now. I think if you were ever to listen to someone for some optimism in crypto, he's got to be one of the people you fucking listen to. He's just been cooking. They raised a $650 million, not billion. Maybe one day it'll be $1 million fund. He's the truth. Good friend of mine, friend of the stream. Let's fucking get it. That's wrong. Let me go full cam here. And boom, Mr. Hasib, welcome back to the stream, my friend. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good.
Of course, man. Look, at a grim time, a little bit in crypto markets. I just want to congratulate you, congratulate Dragonfly on the big announcement. I mean, do you want to tell the stream really quickly what you guys just announced, and maybe a 1-second intro into what you do at Dragonfly?
Yeah. So we just announced we raised our fourth fund, $650 million, which I think in this market is not an easy feat.
No.
Not a lot of people announcing new funds these days. Actually, I know the fund market very well, and a lot of people are downsizing. A lot of people are not able to raise new funds. So that is obviously it's a tough environment for everybody, including VCs and fund managers. So we've been very fortunate, and we're lucky to have money at a time when money goes a long way. So just quick background for those who don't know me. I'm Hasib. I run a fund called Dragonfly. We manage about $4 billion in AUM. Big investors in a ton of stuff in the space. We're investors in Polymarket, into Bybit, into Monad, Mega ETH, Kaito, Athena, a bunch of stuff in the space. And I think it's been an interesting era for VCs because, literally, So Fortune wrote this article alongside our announcement. And I think in the title of the article, it's like, Dragonfly raises $650 million amidst an extinction level event for crypto VCs. That was the fucking title. Wow. So very clearly, it's tough out there. It's tough out there for everybody. I think we've proven something, and I recently got in this tiff with Chris Dixon from A16Z about non-financial crypto, and that was like literally the week before we did this big announcement. A lot of people out there right now are feeling the pain, and that's also true on the fund management side.
Yeah.
A lot of people invested in a lot of bullshit that went nowhere. And I think one of the things that we got right that earned us the right to manage more money and to continue doing what we do is the fact that we got a lot of the big questions in crypto right. And one of those really big questions was, what's this space about? Is this space about decentralized social media? Is it about gaming? Is it about the idea that all of society is going to be reinvented to run on DAOs and blah, 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 blah? We never really believed that stuff. We believed that the core of crypto was about money, about finance, about the idea of creating this quote unquote internet of value, right? Internet capital markets, all that stuff. That's what we believe crypto is about. It seems kind of obvious now, but at the time it was super not obvious. And a lot of capital was destroyed investing in things that fundamentally didn't make sense.
It was never obvious. Honestly, it didn't seem obvious, especially I remember 21 cycle, 22 cycle, what was happening with gaming. I think Farcaster was the last decentralized social type of protocol standing, or at least popular one. Farcaster shut down. I mean, yeah, I can imagine getting cynical about the space when you've torched infinite money on going around. I mean, honestly, going around.
Yeah.
No,
that's right.
Like, okay, your Chris Dixon back and forth was awesome. Can you give me the take on like crypto being money and what this space is about, where we currently stand in 2026? Because to a lot of the smaller on-chain focused players, it's pretty grim, dude. And I would imagine same way on the institutional side as well. It's pretty grim. Like, what's left?
Look, it is and it isn't. Okay, it's grim relative to the party that we were all having, where like everyone's showing, like literally the doors are open, it's playing club music, you can just come in and like free drinks, right? That's what it felt like for a good while, and to be clear, this is crypto. This is how it's always looked as long as I can fucking remember. I've been in the space for a while now, and we go through this boom and bust. We go through this, okay, the party's bumping, everything's free, everything's amazing, everyone gets to make money, and then all of a sudden, no, you're all idiots. Everyone has to go home and like go get a real job, and then we show up again a couple years later. But the people who show up again a couple years later is a different set of people. And so I think this is, crypto amplifies human nature, and this is part of human nature. But if you look at the things that have actually worked in crypto, from the very beginning, right? Where did we start? We started with Bitcoin, which was about peer-to-peer payments and non-sovereign money, right? Digital gold. The next thing that worked in crypto was Ethereum, which is programmable money, smart contracts, smart financial contracts. Okay. Next thing that worked in crypto was ICOs, which are fundraising, capital formation, right? This is also about money. Then the next thing that worked in crypto was DeFi. DeFi, it's got finance in the fucking name. The next thing that worked was NFTs, non-fungible tokens representing financial assets that you can then move around and trade, right? Again, it's also about finance. Almost everything in this space that has worked at scale, and now we're into RWAs, we're into tokenization, we're into perpetuals and all this stuff in prediction markets, right? Prediction markets, they're event contracts, right? Very, very old idea in finance. All of this stuff that's really worked. All was adopted bottoms up. This was not, okay, VCs got together and wrote a manifesto that said, we should build financial applications with crypto, right? People just did it. People just started doing all this shit. I like that. Same thing with stablecoins, right? We just noticed, we didn't manifest this into existence. We noticed that it was happening. And we were like, oh shit, we should like invest into these things, that we should give entrepreneurs more firepower so they can make it grow even bigger. All of the other stuff, Web3 gaming, all the, sort of Web3 utopianism, DAOs, this was all stuff that we collectively came up with. This was like a whole industry-wide fever dream that we convinced ourselves of in podcasts and blog posts, and we talked ourselves into this.
Yeah, fair.
It was not users showing us that, like, man, I really want to hang out in Decentraland all day. In fact, nobody. I remember when Decentraland was worth billions of dollars, and it was like 300 daily actives, exactly. And like we just ignored it. We were like, look, it's early. You don't need the users right now. It's okay because they're buying the land. So what do you need the user for? Because obviously people believe the land is valuable. I think all this stuff it reinforces the same lesson over and over again, which is that crypto is about money. Crypto's always been about money. And why? Because money is the thing that everything else the internet disrupted was never allowed to touch. You were never allowed to touch it, right? If there's a famous story from the early days of PayPal, is that Peter Thiel wanted PayPal to basically do what Bitcoin did. Peter Thiel wanted PayPal to have a form of money that was completely untethered from the banks. And the idea was that originally they were going to go live with this thing that they didn't have a bank. They didn't partner with anybody. They were just going to have an untethered currency that was going to be the native currency of the internet, and people would use that on eBay. That was their idea. And basically they got slapped down by the regulators, and the regulators said, no, of course not. Are you an idiot? And they then had to go partner with Wells Fargo, and the rest is history. Right now, they basically are just like a thin overlay over the banking system. But this idea is super old.
I'd never heard that story before. Why have I never heard that before?
I mean, go listen to some of Peter Thiel's talks. He talks about it when he talks about Bitcoin. Like, everybody in the early days wanted money on the internet to be digital, because like, why would we use the old banking system that doesn't operate on weekends, doesn't operate after 4 p.m. Pacific time, right? Especially if you live on the West Coast, you're like, man, fuck that. Like the
Brutal.
hours are horrible if you live on the West Coast because like the whole world revolves around New York hours. Why in a 24/7, 365 world, why are we still operating on this architecture?
That's a great take.
The answer is like, well, we are because in every country in the world, the banking system is basically nationalized. It's basically run by the government, right? We have for-profit banks, but we all kind of learn, especially when you go through the banking crisis like we did a few years ago, is that actually the government runs the banks too, right? You can run the banks for a while as private citizens, but when everything
it
really goes wrong, it
matters.
turns out actually the governments run the banks, right? And you can sort of pretend you run the banks, but we really run the banks. And this is the narrow waist through which all financial regulation has always persisted in every country around the world forever. Is that because you control the banking system, you control the way the finance works and the way that money works. And so the internet and all the stuff that we invest in Silicon Valley could only really play around the edges, right? So it's like, oh, now you can visit your bank account on a mobile app. Isn't that nice? Now you can scan your checks instead of having to go into the bank. But if there's ever an issue, you have to go into the bank branch anyway. You cannot totally innovate on this stuff. And that's why the NPS scores for banks are like the lowest for any financial product or any consumer product anywhere. People fucking hate their banks. They hate their banks everywhere. They hate them in America. They hate them in emerging economies. They hate them everywhere, right? And so the ability to compete with financial institutions and financial products is why crypto started working everywhere and why it just grew like a weed. You could not kill crypto. People tried to kill crypto, but you couldn't kill it. One of the things that Chris Dixon said in his blog post is he believes that the non-financial use cases of crypto, DAOs and media and gaming, the reason why these didn't work was because it was too early. The regulators were getting in their way.
Gary Gensler,
and,
right?
We didn't have a good set of laws. Gary Gensler, right? Gary Gensler.
I liked your rebuttal.
And
it's like, bro, how long are we gonna do this Gensler shit for, right?
Exactly. Look, Gensler's gone. He's been gone over a year now.
Yeah,
Where are all the games?
Yeah, I agree.
Where are all the games? Right? Where are all the games? Like, launch them. Okay, great. Let it rip. But the reality is that nobody wants these things. They're not good games. And even the people, I had some gaming entrepreneurs who were in my DMs or even in my replies being like, hey, like it was so hard to build this stuff during that time. It's like, okay, well, dude, these guys are gone.
I know.
Where's your product? And they tell me like, well, the thing is like people don't really care about the Web3 elements. They just want a better product. And it's like, yeah, I could have told you that.
I know. Build a fucking
Agreed.
better product.
So then what
is
are
one
we
of my
doing here?
favorite takes, by the way, is there was somebody else that had a similar article. Maybe it was just Chris Dixon. I'm getting confused, but everyone wants you to say Gary Gensler this, Gary Gensler that. It's like, okay, well, we're done with it. We're done with Gary Gensler. Like, if people want the thing, build the thing. They didn't want it then. They don't want it now. This is a take that I actually really agree with. And, I want to get your perspective on this, which is like, okay, where we currently stand in crypto, I think the ultimate black pill has always been and is maybe starting to play out that the crypto community, core devs, and like crypto as an industry built a superior financial layer. Okay, I think that's like a fact, right? The data says yes, we built a better financial layer than what already existed on the internet. But the black pill is that these massive funds, the BlackRocks of the world, and then these like big Web2 institutions, sort of what's happening with Tempo, the New York Stock Exchange wants to do 24/7 stocks. Everybody's gonna come in, build their own walled garden, and none of the money, the capital, the users, the consumers is gonna flow back to what already exists here, the DeFi protocols, the apps, the infra layer, whatever it is. None of the capital is going to flow back into like consumer crypto, and it's going to be just this walled garden Web 2 crypto. And it's kind of happening, right? Like you see, oh my God, the New York Stock Exchange is going to adopt 24/7 tokenization. All Larry Fink and BlackRock wants to talk about is tokenization. But how that actually crosses over into, I don't know, what we do on a day in and day out basis is relatively unclear. Like, how do you see that playing out?
So I think this is like just obviously wrong. You could have said the same thing about the internet. Is that, well, the internet is going to allow the biggest companies in the world to like move their inventory onto the internet, use their already superior distribution, and they're going to just rule the internet, right? And like, why would the internet help you and your stupid little startup? The internet's going to help the giants, right? Because they already have access to like the web developers. Web development is so hard. How are you going to hire a web developer? This argument was the exact same argument people made in the early days of the internet, is that as the big guys come in the early days, the internet was weird. The internet was a bunch of hobbyists and nerds and like, people in universities, like making their little homepages to talk about, whatever it is that they were doing. And eventually it became a consumer internet. There were early adopters and there were later adopters. But like the reality is that the form factors that the institutions are going to come in with are almost always wrong because they're backwards looking. Okay. So the idea that the institutions are coming and they're going to own crypto is not a new idea. All right. I don't know if you remember the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. I
No,
fucking
not
remember
really.
the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance.
Not really. Give me
Okay,
the
yeah.
quick,
So
like,
2017,
yeah.
yeah, 2017. Go look up like a set of logos. It's like fucking J.P. Morgan, and I don't know if BlackRock was in there, but like a bunch of financial institutions were part of the quote unquote Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. Okay. And what did they do? I couldn't even tell you what they did, but there was a story that they were going to create these Ethereum forks that were all going to be for institutional use cases, and they were doing the exact same thing they're doing now. They're tokenizing bonds. They're moving settlement of some stupid thing that you've never heard of onto a blockchain, and isn't that amazing? And like it never went anywhere. All the stuff doesn't go anywhere. Now, okay, New York Stock Exchange going to 24/7 settlement. That's good. They didn't need a blockchain to do that, right? That's like kind of on them. They're already stock exchanges. Like currencies trade 24/7, right?
Yeah,
so,
fair.
Yeah, like what exactly needs a blockchain to do that? Now, I'm glad that they're doing tokenization. I don't know. We don't have a lot of details about what exactly they're doing, but that is totally orthogonal. That's not the story. The New York Stock Exchange moving to 24/7 is good. They didn't need us to do that. They didn't need anything else to do that, but their own will to do that. The story, like what does crypto enable, is way bigger than, okay, now it's 24/7 stock clearing. What crypto enables is this global permissionless programmable thing. That's not what NYSE is doing. NYSE is not doing global permissionless 24/7 programmable finance, right? If you're not doing that, you didn't need crypto. So I think in the early days of the internet, I remember people were very excited that Time Magazine was coming onto the internet, right? They were like they had an early partnership with AOL, and people were like, "Oh my God, the internet is going to be owned by Time Magazine because they're so early." And everyone's just going to go, instead of like using the internet, you're just going to go to timemagazine.com and you're just going to view, like they're just going to run everything because they're so early, right? And in retrospect, like what a stupid take, right? What were the biggest companies in the world at that time? They were ExxonMobil, there was Walmart, and you might think like, well, Walmart.com is just going to own everything. And the answer is no, absolutely not, because they're not adapted for this new world, right? Do you really think the biggest winner in crypto is going to be somebody who tokenizes bonds and brings them on chain? You think that's the biggest problem in the world that crypto is here to solve? It's like, come on. Like, yeah, there will be somebody who comes in and tokenizes bonds in the same way that, like, yeah, the internet still needs all the other stuff that predated the internet. Like, we still need ExxonMobil. We still use energy. The internet uses energy. But where is value going to fundamentally accrue? The answer is to what is scarce. Financial institutions a bunch of financial institutions can tokenize bonds. They will do it. That's great. We need the bonds. We need them on chain. That's going to be wonderful. That's not where the money gets made. So look, all that being said, I understand I'm speaking into, an audience that's feeling very depressed. Like spirits are low.
It's a good take though. Like I like the Time Magazine analogy. It's a good take.
Yeah, the reality is that nobody wants to hear this when prices are moving against you.
Fair.
And prices have moved against us really fucking hard over the last 4 months, right? It wasn't that long ago that Bitcoin was at 120K.
Wasn't.
And this thing still felt like a party. Party's over. Everyone's going home. Like a lot of people are like, hey, I shouldn't have been here. I need to call my
I'm like violently hungover.
Yeah, exactly. And I understand that. And so I don't want to be too Pollyannish about it, right? But from my perspective, look, this is one of the things that I said just a couple days ago, is that one of the advantages of being a VC is that as a VC, you're never a forced seller. And that's really, really easy to underestimate in this industry. Being a forced seller is the number one way that you end up not making money in this industry. Because over the long run, like if you just stick around for long enough, you see the ICO bubble collapse, you see the fucking FTX collapse, you see the DeFi bubble collapse, and now you see this post-Trump hangover, whatever you want to call this. I don't know what this is. You see the 10/10 collapse, right? Yeah. And like what's the one thing these things have in common is that the only way you could have lost money over those time periods is if you were forced to sell. Yeah. If you were not forced to sell, you're okay in the long run, right? Because the answer is like crypto just keeps growing. It just keeps growing. And that's the story that I come back to with this whole thing with Chris Dixon, is that like people tried so hard to kill financial crypto. They tried way harder than they tried with any of the gaming stuff. Who was going after the gaming companies? Like, no, it was very milquetoast at all, the enforcement efforts against gaming. But anything that touched finance, it was crazy. We have so many portfolio companies that were getting subpoenas, that were getting threats, that were, getting shut down, getting debanked. And they persisted anyway. They grew anyway They had adoption anyway. Like, you cannot kill this stuff because people just want it. It has the right to exist. Even, go look on chain. These protocols, people are like, oh, who's ever going to use Aave again now that BlackRock is, or NYSE is launching, whatever. This stuff is still enormous and it's continuing to grow. So, so my answer very simply is that, look, patience is the antidote to almost all problems in crypto. Now, it's, again, an unsatisfying answer, but unfortunately it's the answer.
But if it's the right answer, it's the right answer. And so, like, look, okay, my obvious follow-up to you is, how the hell do you guys deploy $650 million in this market? Where it feels like there's an exodus of talent. All anyone wants to talk about is AI. We're talking about AI. I'll ask you about AI after. I thought you did a good job on TVPN, by the way. How do you deploy $650 million into crypto companies right now?
Yeah, so the answer is very, very happily. Because
and carefully, probably, right?
Everything is on sale. Carefully, but very happily. Because, like, look, I love investing at a time when everyone's feeling terrible. Like, that is actually, like, people say buy low, sell high. They say, okay, you want to be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. But then at the same time, they say, like, oh, what do you do? What do you do with the money? The answer is, well, fucking obviously, you buy shit. You go and find great founders who are building stuff that's working, and you invest in them. Like, I feel like this is the easiest my job has ever been, which is, there's so much stuff that I'm totally confident is going to grow. And it's at this intersection I'm talking about, of like financial crypto. So, we just made big investments into Polymarket, big investments into Rain. We're big investors in Athena. We're big investors into Mesh, which we announced recently. We made we led a round at 75 million into them. All this stuff, man, there's so much more that's coming with respect to stablecoin adoption, with respect to, how the intersection of crypto and traditional finance, and also with AI. Like, I'm somebody, I think you can't be, I think one of the worst takes that we have right now in this industry is like, oh my God, AI is coming to eat our lunch. It's like, no, dude, AI is just technology. Like, of course, technology is going to be changing everything. Like, we're not the only technology in the world. And you really should not hope that we are. If the only thing changing in the world is crypto, then humanity's cooked.
We're in trouble,
like, what else? Like, crypto is a futuristic technology, meaning we need the future for crypto to be relevant. If the rest of the world is frozen in amber and is not moving, then yeah, adoption is going to stay at, tiny numbers. So I think all this stuff, like seeing the rapid acceleration in AI, is so good for crypto, because, and this is, I guess, maybe the place that we're going to go to, is that I think AI is actually going to accelerate the adoption of crypto, not hinder it.
So a starter on AI is Peter Steinberger, who created OpenClaw, goes on the Lex Fridman podcast. I feel like it was sort of the blow off the top of this, claim the fees on-chain meta. He goes on Lex Fridman, and basically it was 10 minutes, is just like, I hate crypto. And every time, I saw this funny tweet. It's like every minute into this take, you think it's climaxing and he's done, and he just like finds a way to crescendo it higher. And his sign off is basically like, I almost deleted the code base, which, give me a break. But, we basically have this weird incentive structure right now where anyone that isn't crypto and is building a tech really hates crypto. And part of the reason is, I think, when you have the most open and permissionless capital market possible, you get a barbell. And on one end of the barbell, you get revolutionary developers that come here and change the world. With Vitalik Buterin creates Ethereum, right? He makes, the world computer, decentralized world computer, genuinely changes the world, right? And then on the other side of the barbell, you get the sort of lowest of the low grifters, scammers that see big money, I'm going to come extract. The same thing's probably going to happen in AI, right? You get Sam Altman and Dario create ChatGPT, and they create Anthropic, and then there'll probably be a whole slew of grifters, just like what we had in crypto, that see money, that see VCs that don't really know what they're investing in, chasing the next OpenAI, throwing money at whatever, take what you can get while you can get it and leave. And, I don't even exactly know what my question is on this topic, but how much does the crypto narrative to the outside world hinder our ability to grow? And like, what happens to this deepest level of hyper financialization that we refer to as like the trenches, especially as AI grows and develops?
Yeah. Okay. Let me try to see if I can chew on that.
Cool.
The idea. So first and foremost, crypto will never not be scammy. Okay, it will
That's a good
never
take.
not be scammy.
Yeah.
It's been scammy as long as I've been in this industry, and it has not stopped. Now, that being said, the relative ratios of non-scammy crypto, like the real stuff, the revolutionary stuff, the really valuable stuff, that stuff has been growing relative to the scams. Scams have always been there, right? Coming to space in 2017, most things that you see are scams.
Oh, so
Most
you
things
think
that are
it's
raising
actually
money
gotten better? The scam to good
it's
ratio.
the ratio, of course. If you've been around, if you saw what 2017 was like, there were so many scams raising enormous sums of capital, right? I mean, gigantic Ponzi schemes. We don't see that anymore. When's the last time you saw a gigantic Ponzi scheme? Like actually a Ponzi scheme, not like this guy rug pulled some meme or whatever. I'm talking about a Ponzi scheme, right? Like BitConnect was a absolutely enormous plus token, enormous like civilization level Ponzi schemes.
Civilization level Ponzi.
Yeah, like you don't see that anymore. It's like it's kind of old timey now to like have these gigantic Ponzi schemes. So like, look, that is core to crypto, right? Like the guys who built Tether, the guy, like just look at how many of these guys show up in the Epstein files. Like it's literally the worst of the worst was building this stuff in the early days. And like, the Bitfinex hacker and all the like the crazy shit that was going on in early crypto was just another level. It was really just like, the Wild West when it was just like cowboys and Indians, right? That's what crypto was like. So it's gotten better on a percentage basis, for sure. Now, that being said, the scams in crypto will never go away. Right? Why will they never go away? The answer is because crypto reduces money to being completely free. And when money is completely free, the worst of human nature is going to come alongside the best of human nature. Like it will just happen, right? There's beautiful things that happen with people donating money to, Roman Storm's defense or to Ukraine or to whatever. And there's also people coming out and, rug pulling meme coins and just like, whatever, all this stuff, harassing developers or whatever it is. So I think that will never go away. And I think that you got to live with that. Okay. You got to live with that. The idea that the favorables, like the favorability rating of crypto is lowest now is wrong. That's ahistorical. Like if you remember what crypto was perceived like after FTX collapsed, that was a lower rung of hell than anything I've seen.
By the way, not to interrupt you, but history is being rewritten that it wasn't that bad post FTX and people still believed in crypto. That is bullshit. Keep going.
That is absolute bullshit. That's right. So that all being said, okay. What do I think about the trenchers who are coming up and like trying to say, hey, like why you fighting this? Why are you fighting us? Why are you throwing us under the bus? Like, we were just trying to help, or we just want to be a part of the action. I think there's a natural cycle in crypto that every generation that comes into crypto looking for the new speculative game, they come in, they master the game as it currently exists, and then the game gets too efficient. It starts off really fun. It starts off, actually, I used to be a professional poker player. It's a lot like poker. When I first started playing poker, poker was an amateur's game. Most people who played poker online were amateurs. And as a result, if you learn a little bit of poker, you could just make a lot of money. Yeah. And the people who are amateurs were also having a good time because there weren't that many pros. The pros weren't that much better than the amateurs, even if they were better. And so as a result, like everybody was having fun. It was genuinely, some days you win, some days you lose, but like it's just kind of it's a party. As people got better and better at poker started getting less fun for amateurs because they're just like, man, I just keep getting destroyed every time I sit down at the table. Yeah. These guys are so tight. They're so mechanical. Every time I sit down, there's like 5 of them that suddenly join to play with me. And like that experience just starts getting worse and worse until those players start leaving. And then what's left just becomes like shark on shark action. And they move on to the new game. Mm-hmm. And the new game is maybe Pot Limit Omaha. And Pot Limit Omaha, nobody really knows the game yet, hasn't been very well studied. And now all of a sudden, this game is where all the bad players are playing.
Eventually.
And this game, exactly. And this game becomes where the party is. And so I think this phenomenon happens in crypto too, where, first it was ICOs, then it was DeFi summer, then, the food coins and the farming and then all the stuff. Then it became the NFT game and then it became the meme coin game. And the interesting thing about crypto is that it's not always the same people. It's some of the same people, but oftentimes it's actually a new generation that comes in and is doing something that really is not recognizable to the previous generation, right? Like the NFT crowd, a lot of them think the meme coin stuff was stupid. And they were like, oh, you guys are so, nihilistic. And you guys, we were really in it for the culture. And you guys are just in to try to make money. And like, I'm sorry, give me 1 second.
Yeah, you're good. It's such a good take, by the way. NFT guys are like, what we were doing was authentic. The meme coin trenchers are nihilistic. Fuck the meme coin trenchers. It's such a good take.
Yeah. It's always kids these days.
Back in our day, we were doing it right. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So I think there's going to be, like, I think when you see the quote unquote revitalization of the trenches, it's not going to be the same form factor because meme coins are too efficient. People are too good at it. There's too much of a supply chain. There's too many professionals. And the people who lost their money in the meme coin game are not coming back. They're not coming back to the exact same form because they remember. They were like, man, I got fucked over. I read about Libra. I read about, whatever, Hayden and all these guys. And like, it's just a crooked game. I don't want to come back. But it'll be something else. It'll be something that they can now believe that this new game is different. This new game is, and I was speculating with somebody that it's going to have something related to AI. I don't know what it is, but there's going to be some way in which you can tell a story that people are willing to believe is fundamentally new and fair and not gamed, right? There's nobody, sort of behind the desk at the casino rigging it for you. So I have no idea what that will be, but there will be some new speculative game within the next couple of years, and that's going to revitalize a new generation, but it's going to look different. And it's going to be a new set of people who come in. And the new set of people is probably going to be very, very AI native. This form factor is going to make perfect sense to them. It's not going to be that the trenchers as currently composed are going to be like, great, now we can make it all back. They're going to be the ones who dismiss this thing and say, this is so stupid. Why are you guys doing this? Exactly. So that is the instinct you want to be looking for, is when is a new generation of people coming in doing something that looks really stupid that everybody who you're following is dismissing. I think it's just human nature.
What's funny about the AI, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions about it. What's funny about the AI crowd is that while they think that they hate crypto, they're basically running the NFT founder playbook circa 2021, which is like be as loud as possible, biggest launch video, tweet all day, get the hype announcement. Like they're basically us without the crypto part. They don't really realize it. And so I want to
in other words, they're us with products.
Yeah, us with like, no, not even though fake products, right? Products aren't real.
Okay,
But no, they are us
enough.
actually, like 1-to-1. I want to ask you a two-folder on the AI topic. I want to ask you about US, China. I'll ask about that after, but
Okay, hold on. Before I answer that, I want to push back against one thing there, which is that I think this is also a crypto being way too down on itself. Like Elon Musk fucking still tweets about Dogecoin. Sam Altman launched WorldCoin, right? Like if you look at the big labs, like literally today, EVM Bench was just launched by OpenAI.
See, that to me is way cooler than
about the same
WorldCoin.
thing.
Like, Sam Altman doesn't give a fuck about WorldCoin.
Sure. I mean, look, I'm not endorsing WorldCoin. I'm not an investor in WorldCoin. But if you look at the big guys in AI, almost to the last man, they believe in crypto. Like they're not coming out here pumping our bags and doing any of that stuff. But like the idea that futurists don't believe in crypto is just wrong. It's just not correct.
Fair counter. God, WorldCoin. There's I think I tweeted this. I think you engaged my tweet. There's a parallel universe where WorldCoin is the most important crypto token ever created, but unfortunately, we don't live in it.
Yeah. No, we don't live in it.
We don't live in it.
Basically, we're grateful for it.
The narrative. I agree with your take. Like, game is solved. It's been solved. We need a new game. Eventually, it'll just happen. It probably has something to do with AI. There's this narrative that I think is one of the most grandiose narratives we've had in crypto in a long time of agentic commerce. And agents need a phantom wallet, access to the blockchain, and USDC to do anything. And I hate when people are like, if this token fails, crypto's over. It's the same idea of like, if Bitcoin loses this level, it's lights out. I hate doing that. But this one does feel relatively larger stakes on it playing out or not, because I feel like the upside is very high. And the downside is sort of crypto gets skipped over in the agent adoption curve. And so the question for you is like, how do you envision this agentic commerce ecosystem marketplace playing out as it relates to crypto?
Okay, so first thing here is that it's a yes and. It's not a, well, either credit cards win or USDC wins, right? I think that's obviously foolish. So if you're OpenAI, so OpenAI already has commerce built into ChatGPT, right? So you can go into ChatGPT, you can buy stuff on Shopify, you can buy stuff on Etsy. Now, interestingly, you can't buy things on Amazon on ChatGPT, right? Because Amazon does not allow them to, and there's a bigger story there. But clearly, I mean, those happen through credit cards, and the workflows will be exactly the same as the consumer workflows that exist today, and all of that stuff is user must approve. It cannot buy anything without you approving. Okay. All the big labs, pretty much guaranteed, there's no fucking way that they're going to allow an AI agent to make transactions without you approving. Right. It's just such a liability nightmare, way too risky, right? They will not touch it. So even something like OpenClaw, right? I mean, Sam Altman said when they acquired OpenClaw, we see this as a big part of the future of ChatGPT, right? Is, you know, what that means, who knows, but you can kind of get the sense of where this is going of, okay, a kind of generalized agent that, it ingests your Gmail, your calendar, your, all this other stuff. But the reality is, like, are they going to have a self-driving agent that's going to write emails for you? Like, probably a liability nightmare. There's going to be, we already have stories about people committing suicide from getting, AI psychosis. Imagine what can happen when an AI, gets you fired from your job, right? Like, just the lawsuit mania is going to be crazy. So you're going to see open source pull ahead, because open source is always willing to take more risks, right? It's like, it's like peptides, right? People are just willing to inject themselves with fucking anything if it can get them ripped or skinny, way before the FDA says, like, okay, this thing is definitely safe for you to do. And like the same thing is going to be true with respect to commerce, right? Getting your AI agent to take a credit card, you could do it, but how are you going to pay for something that's not, a U.S. merchant? What's going to happen when your credit card company starts to realize that you start charging back stuff that your agent did while you were asleep, right? You're asleep, your AI agent buys some stupid thing that you didn't want it to buy, or it got prompt injected and bought something that it's like, oh shit, I didn't want it to buy this. And then you do a chargeback, and then, Visa's like, wait, well, this kind of looks like an AI agent did this. This did it while you were asleep, and it did like 50 of these in 2 minutes. Clearly, this is not you. We are going to make this now against the terms of service for you to use an AI agent autonomously doing things without a clear record of you approving it. So otherwise, just charge back payments.
Actually,
right, exactly.
So like, happens.
I think there's just like all this stuff that gets bundled. Like when you really think through all the steps in here, there's going to be two workflows. There's going to be one where human approves everything. There's going to be second where agent runs autonomously, right? And if it's truly agent is running autonomously, the API for that is no chargebacks, and like basically, buyer beware. What is that? That's crypto. That's what stablecoins are. Stablecoins are no chargebacks, buyer beware. And the way in which now that opens up the universe of what your agent can pay, because, in the world of credit cards, it can only pay somebody who can take a credit card, right? That's not everybody. If your agent wants to pay another agent, if it wants to pay somebody that you don't know who they are, you don't know where they are in the world, if it wants to buy a financial asset, right? All that stuff can happen in crypto, but can't necessarily happen using a credit card. So I think what you will see is that we bifurcate. There will be, you get your AI agent to approve, hey, buy me some toilet paper, fine. That's going to happen with you clicking a button, and it's going to happen with your credit card. But there's going to be a whole different set of people. And again, probably mostly it's going to be open source. It's going to be homebrew in the beginning. This is going to be the weirdos who are doing stuff online. And also, to be clear, a lot of this stuff is going to be happening outside the US. So for non-US stuff where it's like, okay, hey, credit card acceptance is maybe not as high, and there's a lot more international transactions going on. That's already where you're seeing B2B stablecoin adoption is very, very high. Exactly. So like in the same places where crypto adoption is already high is where you should also expect those people have AI agents. And those AI agents will be using crypto. So no, look, this is early days, right? Go look at X402 volumes right now. That's the payment protocol that's right now becoming increasingly dominant that Coinbase is adopting. It's tiny, right? We're talking a big game about something that we expect is going to happen years in the future. It's like less than $1 million.
Is it going? Oh,
it's
Jesus.
nothing.
Okay.
It's nothing.
It's not like
these are tiny.
yeah.
Right? I mean, it's you want to look at the trend line, but mostly you want to look at what are they doing. That's the real question. What are they doing? What are the use cases? Right now, they're all pretty tiny, right? There's one of them. There's like basically some farms that are inflating the numbers. If you remove those farms, then you're getting to a number of like 1 million a day, something like this. It's not significant numbers. So what we're talking about is right now, very clearly, the models are not good enough to do this yet. If you give your model crypto, like if you just get Claude Code or OpenClaw, you give it some crypto, you should not expect to see that crypto in a few days. Okay. Like that's just the reality of where things are right now. But these are all getting way better really fast. We just got here like a month ago. So like just realize the accelerating timeframes here, and you have to draw the line out. This stuff is only going to get better and better. And the number one thing, I guarantee you, the moment that it makes sense, people are going to be giving their agents crypto, and they're going to get them to start doing stuff. Because again, it's like human nature. Just the span of human ingenuity, people will find ways to automate their own jobs. They'll find ways to automate procurement. They'll find ways to automate all this shit, And I think it's going to be really weird, but AI agents are going to be driving more and more economic value, whether we want them to or not. And it's going to happen under our noses.
That was beautiful. God, you're so optimistic. It's so good. One of the last things I want to ask you, and I'll let you go in a second here, is, all anyone wants to talk about is the AI bubble, right? The AI bubble in macro. And we did this really fun stream segment yesterday, and we called it China Maxing. And we basically looked at US versus China and how scarily competitive it is on the AI side, especially with China running most of their models open source, right? Like the DeepSeek wasn't a one-off. We have Kimi, we have Minimax. And then we basically looked at everything else, every other vertical of, we're looking at GDP, we were looking at infrastructure, manufacturing, and the US is basically winning AI barely and then blown out of the water on just about every other measurable vertical. Shipbuilding, someone in the chat. Yeah, it's not great. My question for you is on this AI in China intelligence race. How do you see this playing out? And specifically the US government, AI as a proxy to the military, just gassing this with, backstopping OpenAI and Sam Altman and the CapEx. Like, how do you see this playing out over the next, year, a couple of years here?
Yeah. Okay. I think this is very, I think this is a very mid-curve take. The idea that like China and, AI and the US are very close on AI. I think that's clearly not true.
Okay.
So making the point that AI models out of China are a few months behind the US, like the open source stuff is a few months behind the US. This is true, but this is true because they're distilling on US models, right? Which we know
allegedly
very, very amply. Allegedly, come on, like we're not idiots. Like the reality is that being behind the frontier has so little value when there's going to be more and more compounding that we see take place within these big labs, because we basically just got to the point that we've exhausted all public data, and more of the data that's being generated within these labs is proprietary. It's internal. They're creating the data themselves. That means that getting your model to be on par with these things. The other thing, of course, like there's all this benchmark gaming. Like if you look at Quen, for example, right? So it's been proven multiple times over. There's actually a bunch of recent papers that demonstrated this, that, so Amy, which is a big mathematics competition that happens every year. There's a lot of competition among the big labs to try to show that they can do, it's kind of like the SAT, right? To show that this year's SAT, you can do really well in this year's SAT. And basically what they show is that Quen, which is the big Alibaba model, it's one of the best models that's like a small scale, that it falls off a cliff on the new Amy's, but it's like amazing on the old Amy's, right? Which is exactly what you expect to see if you're benchmark gaming, right? So all the Chinese models benchmark game. We all know that. And the way that you can prove that to yourself is go use them. If you go actually use them and you go try to write production code, they're just way worse. They're just all way worse. I mean, they're a lot better than they were 6 months ago, and they're also better than the state of the art was, 12 months ago. That's true for the labs too. That's true for everybody. It's just that like we are learning so much more, and compute costs are just driving down really fast. So I think what you should expect to see is the gap between open source and closed source grows, not shrinks.
Okay.
I think that's what you expect to see. But I think it's also hard to measure that gap because benchmarks are not nearly as effective as they used to be because of all the benchmarking.
Yeah, that's the nuance, right?
So that's my claim there. So anyway, all this is to say, now is China formidable? Absolutely. And are they way ahead of anybody else in the world? Absolutely. Right. So Europe's not even on the map. Japan, they have like one company that matters. Everybody else is basically a zero. So I think it's true that China has the most competence to be able to catch up to the frontier and to copy what the big labs in the US are doing. That's, I think, the right claim to make. But these companies are very likely to become more. Here's the thing also about the AI labs in the US, they all leak like sieves. Right. You go to Silicon Valley and there's just like dudes in coffee shops leaking each other. Like, here's what we're doing. Here's what you're doing. Oh, how'd you do this thing? And they just tell each other, they have like thousands of employees. And so it's impossible to stop it. And like that stuff will stop. It will stop when the national security stakes increase enough that the US government basically takes over and says, these companies are getting nationalized.
What's the timeline on that, do you think? Like, this is that AI 2027 article speaks about this, right? It's obviously going there.
Yeah. I don't think it's 2027. I think it's maybe like 2028, 2029.
Okay.
I think when you see that basically the amount of economic disruption ratchets up and the amount of military applications of AI basically goes vertical.
I mean, what did you think when you saw the government come out and say we use Claude to capture Maduro?
Yeah, I mean they're now going in this big public fight
Yeah,
about
they are.
it was like covered Wall Street Journal this morning.
I feel like that was a big deal that they came out and said that publicly. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, if you hear what people in the administration say about Anthropic and like, oh, it's a bunch of woke, AI doomers, it's not surprising that like
Fair.
all the culture war stuff is coming out in this back and forth. I think the reality is that the people within the government realize that like, man, Cloud Code is really fucking good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a sort of bottoms up thing of like, look, we just can't afford to lose this.
Yeah.
My guess is what happens is probably Anthropic caves, not that the government just goes and uses some other thing.
Yeah. They don't have much of a choice.
That's my guess. I think so. I mean, the reality is like the government is, you want Anthropic is an enterprise go-to-market, right? And the government is the biggest enterprise in the
Your
world.
biggest buyer.
It's exactly. It is so fucking big. It's the biggest organization that has ever existed in humanity. So they need that contract, and I think they're probably just going to do what it takes to win it.
What do you mean? Yeah. So what do you mean when you
it
say
could be-
nationalize the companies though? Like, how does that work? And, like, what does that look
Basically,
like?
if these companies get treated as government contractors,
Mhm.
then everybody who works there has to have a security clearance. Basically, if you touch anything that's sensitive, it's like it's like think about what it's like to work on like military equipment, right? So these are contractors, but like they're government contractors, but they are all required to basically have very high levels of secrecy in order to continue doing what they're doing. And it's going to look more like Los Alamos than it's
Okay.
going to look like Facebook.
What are like
Right.
the economic implications of that?
The economic implication is that it's much harder to compete with the labs. The labs
Because
basically
they're
become,
just like in.
yeah, they're in. They have the biggest contracts. They cannot be removed. Nobody can compete with them anymore. And also, like the capex requirements and the regulatory requirements to compete are just
So
astronomical.
ridiculous.
And they just have this compounding data advantage, right? Because all the data that they're using, that they're ingesting from these gigantic contracts, nobody else can replicate.
Is this like the spot that
so-
like Palantir is in on the defense side?
To some extent, I don't know how reusable their data is across different
Got it.
contracts. Probably there is. I don't know that much about
Got
it, to
it,
be
got it,
honest.
got it.
So I'd be speculating. But it's definitely true. Like for Palantir, a lot of it is just that they have the defense contracting relationships.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily that they have such a tremendous data advantage.
Okay.
They're just very good at what they do, and the government trusts them.
Got it.
I think for the AI labs, it's more that like the knowledge, like we just cannot have these things leaking to China anymore. I think that's really what's going to come down to, right? Right now, these things leak to China. Is it a national security concern? Like, kind of, right? We talk about it as though it is, but like, what are they really doing about it?
Yeah.
The answer is nothing, right? But if China leaks, if they leak like our military blueprints or nuclear scientists and have defected to China, that's like we will potentially bring out bomber jets if that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah.
Right? So that's not happening with AI, and that's very weird that that's not happening with AI. It will happen. If this stuff is like moving GDP by 10% a year, then the US is going to say, no, China, you don't get to have this. We have this.
So if
This
we
is
get
ours."
there, does that mean we just infinite backstop, infinite spend, markets just keep bleeding higher?
I mean, I think this backstop conversation is very simplistic. Like, what does backstop mean, right? Like, people, I mean, does that mean that the government is going to invest into OpenAI? Does that mean that they're going to buy OpenAI's bonds? Does that mean that, like, if they're going bankrupt, that, they're going to, like, nationalize the company? There's many different dimensions of what a quote-unquote backstop means. And a backstop could also just mean, like, they say something publicly if OpenAI is having a bad fundraiser. What the fuck does it mean? I don't know. Like, and the reality is that OpenAI is so far away from actually being in any kind of financial distress, right? People are freaking out because like the stock market went down by 1%, 2%, right? There's nothing. Like they're still raising rounds at higher valuations. Like, oh, Nvidia didn't invest 50 billion. Oh my God, this is so now it's all going to collapse. It's like, dude, come on, this is nothing, right? Like they're still raising the money, and they might just like pare back their compute commitments. Okay, that's fine. They're not going under. They're not going bankrupt. Like that's very different from what people are imagining, which is that there's a gigantic bust. Okay. If there's actually a gigantic bust, I think almost no question the government will step in to buy the dip, and whether it's buying bonds or backstopping things or whatever, or investing in compute, fine. They will do that. They will absolutely do that because I think the argument they will make, which is very credible, is that this is a national security
This is the take,
question.
Yeah.
Exactly. Is that like, look, we need this strategically for the future, even if the consumer industry is not ready for it, even if enterprises aren't willing to pay for it, we're going to pay for it, right? And we'll pre-buy the demand. I think that is very, very credible, but that's not the same thing as like, okay, they're going to backstop like a VC raise.
Yeah. Okay. That's the take I wanted to hear. I know you have to go, so I'll ask you this last question. Is okay? I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but you've come on the show a couple times. So I've never asked you about Naval before. I know you used to work under him.
Okay.
Can you give us like
did.
a memorable Naval moment or like something that you learned from him or something maybe that's relevant to where we currently sit in timeline, in market, in wherever we are in society right now?
Yeah. There's actually something he told me relatively recently. I was reflecting on the exit of Kyle Samani. And Kyle Samani, of course, the founder of Multicoin. He was super OG in the space. He entered crypto the same year that I did. And he's now moved on to greener pastures. He's still running Forward Ventures or Forward Industries or whatever, which is his Solana dat. But you know, he's ridden off in the sunset. And I got a little nostalgic about it. I wrote this like, little homage to him. Anyway, I was talking to Naval about this, and I was reflecting on the fact that, like, man, all these guys, when I came into the industry, they were the titans, right? Like Polychain, Pantera, Multicoin. These were the big dogs, and I thought someday, like, man, I want to compete. I don't know how I'm going to be able to get to that level that I can compete with these guys, and so Kyle was kind of the last guy who was really just bruising every single day, the same way that I am. That he was just out there fighting for his portfolio companies, like doing the thing. And so many of these other founders of these funds kind of checked out. Like, you don't really hear from them much anymore. You don't really know what they're doing. They're just kind of, and like, I know these guys, they're great dudes, but like, they're not at the same energy level that they used to be. And one thing Naval told me is like, look, I saw this so many times in so many different industries, right? Same thing happened with the .com, which is that, like, early on, basically the smart people win early and check out. So what's left are basically like the losers and the lazy people. And like, basically, if you just stick around long enough, you end up winning, because all the really great people, they retire early, So it's a little sordid to think about it that way, but I kind of got to live long enough to see it happen, which is that increasingly, like, the guys who I came into this industry alongside, or even after, and I thought, man, I don't know how I'm ever going to beat these guys. The reality is that you stick around long enough, they will beat themselves. And you barely need to do anything. You just need to stick around and actually have the work ethic and the discipline to just keep doing what you're doing. And I think the same thing is true for you. I mean, I don't know what your experience has been, but like, I'm sure when you came in this industry,
the exact same.
There were all these dudes, fucking BitBoy and all these guys, and like, what they just, they imploded, they just disappeared. They just fell into the ocean. They got lazy, and like, it's the same game. It's got a different form, but it's the same game. And like just discipline and consistency. As long as you're smart and you're talented, it always wins. And that was something I really took to heart.
That was beautiful. It's a cockroach mentality. So you're not concerned when you see talent leave crypto. You just see opportunity.
I mean, look, I'm obviously concerned. Like, it's not good to have talent leaving crypto, but it's a question of where they're going. If they're going to fintech, then I'm really concerned. If they're going to the banks, then I'm in tears. Okay. If they're going to AI, I'm like, okay, fair enough. They should. AI is really fucking important. You should go work on AI. That's totally fine. There's still a lot of people to work on crypto. Like, we'll be okay. We got a lot of talent, but like, it's a big world out there. I don't begrudge anybody going to work on AI, because I do agree with them that it is the most important technology of the century, no doubt. But it's accretive to a lot of other stuff, right? Like, smartphones benefit from AI, crypto benefits from AI, energy benefits from AI. All the stuff works together. There's no technology in isolation. So I don't get too teary-eyed about it. When I see the people who I came in this industry with, like my peers, when I see them leaving, yeah, it kind of hits me, of like, it's not just that, like, oh man, I love Kyle. It's also like, seeing somebody you're very close to and who's a rival of yours exit stage right? That has a certain resonance to me. But it's normal, man. It's been 10 years. We've been in this space for a long time. We've been grinding, and that's a good tenure for anybody. So I have nothing but respect for people who are leaving this industry. I think it's totally fair. It's a reasonable decision. I'm not going anywhere, and I think this industry has a lot more to go. But it's not the only game in town. That's okay. It doesn't have to be.
When's the next chopping block episode?
I think it comes out tomorrow morning.
When's the last one you posted? I haven't listened to one in a couple weeks.
We skipped a week, so I was in Hong Kong last week.
I was about to say I didn't remember seeing
we didn't have one last week.
Okay, this is going to be a good one. Then I'm excited.
It will be a good one. Actually, we talk about Chris Dixon. We talk about
you can't skip it. Of course you do. Haseeb,
unfortunately,
you're awesome. Is there anything you want to shill mention, shout out before you leave? I think this was actually a really fun one and timely. We needed it.
Absolutely. Look, I got no shills. I would just say, look, stay in the game. Stay in the game. That's the number one thing. If there's any invocation I can make, it's that crypto's not going anywhere. You didn't make a mistake coming in this industry. That being said, doesn't mean you need to close your eyes to everything else happening in the world. You know, you will be better in crypto if you understand the world better. And that means play around with all the AI tools, play around with OpenClaw, you know, play around with all the AI models. Like, no technology lives in isolation, and crypto is no exception.
Savior the GOAT, man. A fucking pleasure, dude. Congratulations again on the round.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Have a good
Take
one.
care.
Talk soon. Peace.
Ciao.
That's what we're doing, bro. I'm not gonna lie. WC. That's what we're doing. Play around with everything the fuck else, right? If you understand the world better, you'll get crypto better. Man, that shit fire me the fuck up. That's WC. We'll see. All right, we gotta follow up on all of the shit that we just talked about. I gotta pee really bad. Dude, look at this. I got 3. Look at this shit right here. I got 3 drinks. I'll be back in 30 seconds. We found a Peter Thiel clip on the PayPal. I'll be back. Hold on. All right, so a couple things. I actually thought that was a sick interview because it was timely and relevant to what we were talking about. Yeah, like, I don't know. I'm not really that interested in like interviewing crypto traders and shit, but I think, look, I think a couple things are true. One, there's 2 things I think that are really stick out to me. Is one, crypto is important technology and it's going to be utilized in AI and the proliferation of the internet. And the second part that is also true is that understanding the world better allows us to understand where we sit in crypto better. I think for so long, all I understood was our little crypto bubble. And then when things would happen in the outside world that would affect crypto, I didn't understand why they were happening. And I think that we've used these last 3 weeks to break out a little bit while things are slow and understand the world better. And we have a lot of benefits from it. It's like, I could ask you right now, why is Apple holding up well the AI trade? And you could give me an in-depth explanation as to why Apple is like a quality trade potentially. Or you could tell me why China is uniquely positioned to win the AI race. And you could give me a well-articulated take on that as well. I think it puts us in the 6th spot to do that. There's a couple points. One point is that he kind of really shot down my China maxing take, that China is close on the AI models. And he said that no, the fuck they're not. And that being far behind, being a couple months behind the frontier tech means nothing. But man, it wasn't that long ago, correct me if I'm wrong, that it was like China's like 3 years behind. And then it's like China's 2 years behind. They're a year behind. They're 6 months behind. And now it's like China's 2 months behind. Who cares? And to me, it feels like it's a lot closer to where the frontier models are in the US than he was giving it credit for. I'm going to be honest. Like, I mean, they're winning video. CNN's 2.0 is, from what I understand, is the best video model out right now. They're winning video. Like, straight up winning it. Okay? Not like close or like behind. It's like they're winning it. They're winning video. And so, yes, distilling is easy. But one, are they really just distilling? Or are they actually making innovations? Because how are they keeping up so close? And then second is like, If it is just distilling, then we should figure out a way to fucking make it harder to distill, right? If it is just distilling and they're just stealing everything and it's that easy to fucking, it's that important of technology, then we might as well make it harder to fucking steal, right? What am I missing on that front, right? I feel like we should make it harder to steal. Let's see, what else? Oh, US is going to be, yeah, so I asked him about the backstopping thing as well. And, you know, so I asked him, like, when are they going to lock these models down? That's an AI 2027 article. And he's like, no. 2027 is way too early. It's going to happen in 2028. It's like that's the same thing, low key. And so, at least what I have understood is that it's already national security risk. And no contracts are going unfulfilled. No frontier lab in the US will ever even utter the word bankruptcy in the United States. And I think that they're going to be way more proactive on the security than maybe he and some other people on Twitter giving credit for. Like, to me, them coming out and saying we use Claude to capture Maduro is a big deal. Like, I understand that they've been using these tools in the background for a while, but there's a difference between using them in the background for a while and then coming out and publicly saying, like, this is a military weapon. It's not the same thing, right? Saying, like, using it in the background and then saying we're using it is different. It's very different. It's like I've been swiping Hinge and then I'm on stream talking about I'm using Hinge. It's like, no, I'm desperate. I'm elevating the severity of the take. And so I felt like, look, I'm not an expert on understanding US admin and breaking down what they have to say. But to me, that was their declaration of this is a war weapon, is what they just did. They came out and they said, this is a weapon of war. And we are right now, like that, to me, that was like the declaration of this is a military weapon. Okay. And so, I mean, what do they have to gain from like shilling Claude? I don't think they have to gain much. I feel like they set the fucking tone. Right? Like, I don't feel like they don't have anything to gain from shilling Claude, really. What do they have to gain from shilling Claude? I kind of want to think about, like, why would they do that exactly? To me, that's the US military being like, this is a fucking, this is a military weapon. This is a weapon. This is a fucking weapon. Is what that is. So, look, I think a lot of the smartest people share similar takes on this, which is like, yes, a lot of these AI labs have probably committed more capital than they fucking can afford for CapEx build outs, for partnerships or whatever, but they're never going to worry about money ever. They're just not. It just can't happen. It's too risky, bro. I want to watch this Peter Thiel video real quick. I think it only plays for a second, but I think he mentions, I never heard that take, by the way. PayPal tried to like build their own Bitcoin before Bitcoin. I never heard it before.
For the sense that, we were going to change the world. We're going to, give people more control over their
He looks so young and like so much light in his eyes.
Money. We had all these ideas about, getting rid of central banks and creating a new currency. We never quite, got to the Bitcoin stage of it.
But, we'll get to that later.
But look how like how much light he has, bro. This is pre like. Be careful.
We never quite, got to the Bitcoin stage of it.
But, we'll get to that later.
But certainly these ideas were incredibly motivational in doing it, and it is always a little bit of a contrast from, I always have this view on politics where it's both incredibly important and then in many ways incredibly frustrating because it's so it's like the air we breathe. It permeates our whole system, and then it's also so hard to ever change. And, as a college student, I started this. Conservative libertarian newspaper at Stanford, the Stanford Review, and there's a lot. It's important to have debates to discuss things, and then it's often so hard to change things. And the PayPal hack was in a way, we're.
I'll tell you what, I'm gearing up for my fucking political arc, man. I've seen enough, is what I'll say. I've fucking seen enough. You might see me, if you see me lobbying and ripping political takes on the timeline, it might come. It might fucking come, man. All right, let's look at this website real quick. I've never seen this before. www.x402.org. He said 1 million. It's way more than 1 million. $25 million volume in last 30 days. That's pretty decent, huh? It's not bad. I mean, it's not great. It's not bad. Okay. I'm gonna skip the Mr. Beast Monopoly for the moment, just because I think it'll be a fun one to hit tomorrow. But I have a video that Balaji put out, and he says that it is either communism or Zcash. You guys want to watch some of it? I think we should watch some of it. We need some crypto things to be optimistic about. I was gonna rug the stream, but I'm being told that I have to get to fucking longer every stream. Everyone's like, threadguy, you fucking stream like a pussy ass bitch. I'm like, Jesus, man. So I have two things actually. This is really funny. This is really funny. So there's this toilet company right here. The stock looks like this. Okay. And it's a Japanese toilet company. It's worth $7 billion. And they basically just discovered on a whim that its ceramics tool can be used to make bleeding edge AI chips. It's a $60 billion market. The company is worth $7 billion. Their stock is up 60% on the news. This feels like early crypto when everyone found out that, what did the guy say? Why'd you ban him? That everyone found out that they could like use their energy in their computers to like mine Bitcoin, and then all these stocks fucking ripped. It's pretty crazy. Activist investor Palliser Capital sent a letter to a $7 billion Japanese toilet maker and said it was the most undervalued and overlooked AI memory beneficiary. Toto's known for its bidet toilets, but the expertise in ceramics is crucial for memory manufacturing. So they make fucking bidets. But, is that how you say it? Bidets? Bidets? Bidet. They make bidets. Sorry. They make bidets. They're known for bidets. And the technology that makes bidets is actually good at making AI memory chips. And the stock is ripping on the news. It's pretty hilarious. You love to fucking see it. But, all right. I have a video. We'll watch some of it. Let's see. Balaji. Bidet. Communism or Zcash? Those are your only options. Those are the only two options you have. Communism or Zcash. Nothing else. There's no in between.
Podcast. And so Arjun, you are 22?
19.
You're 19.
He's been on the podcast. He's 19.
19. Okay. So 19 means you were born in 2006. So you were born 5 years after 9/11. The financial crisis, you were only like 2 years old, right? So, with video games, people spawn into the battlefield in the middle of, like a MOBA, everybody's shooting at each other. And there's like this giant thing.
You guys know what this is? Balaji, founded Network State. Former CTO of Coinbase, I think.
And some spawns into the middle. And so I think of you kind of people, the Gen Z types, as spawning into the middle of this totally chaotic situation. And I just want to tell you, it wasn't like that in the 90s and the 2000s. I don't know what your perception is, or maybe you perceive this chaos as normal.
I mean, I was born with a lot of things that I take for granted, right?
Were you born in the US or were you in India? No.
In India, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, I've like, for as long as I remember, I know like having a computer, smartphone, kind of, after a while. So
what's your spiel? Give your life story. You're a Zcash guy now, but give your spiel.
Sure. So, I was a pretty normal kid, I would say, when I was up to like 13.
You're still a kid, but go ahead. Yes, fine. Go ahead.
Until around COVID, when I was like, doing whatever teenagers would do, play Fortnite, and then COVID hit, and then I just like.
Where were you then?
In India.
In India. Okay.
Yeah.
How come you have an American accent? You have a global accent.
International. No idea. Just talking to a lot of people.
Okay.
So I, anyway, COVID hit, and then I just started reading a lot of books, like The Beginning of Infinity, Naval's book, the Naval Almanac. And then I just started questioning a lot of things I take for granted, and just like started questioning the meaning of it all, right? Like, why am I in school? Like, I don't want to be
just growing up studying engineering like everybody else, and you know how the Indian mentality is.
There's nothing wrong with studying engineering, but
Sure, yeah. But you know,
yes,
that kind of life.
It's like if it's only a canalized path, you want to have some options. That's
of course, yeah. So anyway, I got completely radicalized, I guess I'd say, and then
you got woke? No, exactly.
Yeah.
No, you got
Motherfucker talk.
You got enlightened.
Right.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Yep.
And then when it was time to go back to school, because when I was online school, I just like knew the site and then write on my blog, write on Twitter. But then when I had to go back to school, I was like, this sucks. I'm out of here. Right. So dropped out of high school, worked on AirChat for a while in the wall, and we sunsetted that.
AirChat.
Just a couple years ago now, and then sort of got involved with Zcash.
Great. Okay, so let's talk Zcash, right? So the Zcash network. Okay. So my view is there's many problems that Zcash solves. Some of them are obviously privacy, simplicity, quantum, like quantum resistance, quantum resiliency, let's say.
Up to some certain point.
Up to some certain point, right? And it has at least a roadmap for resiliency, right? And like Sean Bowe has a good post on this. And then scalability with Tachyon, right? And then it's also got some degree of lindiness or what have you, given that's been around for 10 years, got a good security track record. It's got a good exchange integration, community, all that kind of stuff.
Lindy's a great word.
Zcash is interesting because Solana guys like it, Vitalik likes it, I like it, Novel likes it. It's something where I think we can build a coalition around privacy. And you've certainly experienced this yourself. It's funny to say, like, how does the youth think about privacy and so forth, right? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll give it a thought.
I would say I'm like, I don't hang out with a lot of people my age, right? So I don't know what like regular people my age think. But for me, I think privacy is super important. Like, I don't dox my location anymore. I used to when I was a kid.
Right.
Didn't really realize
the downside of it.
Yeah. But then now, you especially with AI, being able to recognize where you are exactly, and you need that on chain, I think, because you can't have freedom without privacy. And if like every transaction you make is just broadcasting your entire wealth to the
Apple Watch and a Whoop chat. Y'all trusting the guy with the Apple Watch and a Whoop and AirPods?
Public, or where you are, what you're doing. I don't think that's a world that I want to live in. So
yeah, and I think a lot of people don't fully understand that point. If you're under surveillance, you're not sovereign.
Yeah.
And one way of putting it is, if every move is being tracked, for example, you don't have the advantage of surprise. You can never launch something.
Bluetooth fears this man.
You can never have private deliberations. You don't have the room to make mistakes. Anything you do can be used against you, and so on and so forth, right? And there's another way of putting it is, what does privacy mean? Say, arguably, it means local files and local data. So that's also the same as what sovereignty means. It means privacy is private keys, is private property, is not online, like almost decentralized and local and individual, as opposed to communal and shared and public and whatnot, right? So that's a sense in which sovereignty is privacy, is locality, is security.
It's creativity, right? Like, I'm not going to be creative. I'm not going to be myself, my authentic self, if I'm always being watched. And like, I would think like knowledge creation and wealth creation just comes to a stall if everything's real all the time.
Yeah, it's funny. Like one thing I used to say, sometimes people would tell me, oh, biology, China is going to just be the same as Japan, and it's going to like run into a ditch like Japan did. But the way I'd point at something is actually in 2017, actually, Salzberger's paper at NYT published something that said that China killed a bunch of American spies in 2010. Japan could never do that. So that's why China, that's another way of looking at it. So, let's say a very different national security sense, but China's sovereign in a way that Japan isn't, because it could kill the spies, because it stopped the spies. Obviously, I'm sure America's killed Chinese spies as well, but Japan would never be able to kill American spies, So Japan is under surveillance and wasn't sovereign, but China wasn't under surveillance and was sovereign, right? So the ability to actually be free of surveillance is actually, in a sense, to be sovereign. And the alternative way of doing it is to encrypt, not through violence like the Chinese way, but through decentralization encryption, which is the internet.
Yeah, you recently tweeted Zcash must scale. Why is scaling Zcash a moral imperative?
Well, it's because, look, I love Bitcoin. Bitcoin's amazing. I don't never have a negative word to say about Bitcoin or what Satoshi did and so on. But he developed it in 2009, right? 2009 was many generations ago technologically. You'd make different trade-offs potentially today. Especially quantum has improved a lot. We know a lot more about blockchain scalability. Obviously, we know about smart contracts. Obviously AI's out there, blah, blah. So Zcash must scale just means right now, how does Bitcoin scale? Off-chain and other chains. Let's say off-chain, which say you load Bitcoin into Coinbase or Binance, and then within the internal Binance or Coinbase economy, you have a debit and a credit, and you can send and receive at zero fees. And only when it's recorded out as a transfer out is there an on-chain transaction, right? So off-chain is basically database entries. And then other chains means you swap Bitcoin into something else, and then you send it on that chain, Solana or Ethereum or something like that, or USDC on Ethereum or Solana. And that's fine. That does work. But many of my, friends who are still, like Bitcoin maximalists or what have you, I'm sympathetic to them, but they've basically been saying, oh, Lightning is going to be there any day now for 10 years.
Sucks.
Literally 10 years of Lightning.
Lightning Network and Bitcoin is garbage.
And the thing about it is when you press them, they're like, oh, well, Lightning, there's no public database of it because it's supposed to be payment channels between two nodes. And you go and you look into the details of it. Basically, the thing about Bitcoin is any address can send any other address at any time, any amount, without any setup at basically, let's say, standard fees, minimal fees, right? That anybody can pay anybody, anytime, anywhere, any amount without any setup is a set of things that is all broken with Lightning. Any node cannot pay any other node with Lightning unless there's a channel or a route between them. They can't pay any amount because it's constrained in a complex way by how much of the deposits are there. They can't do it necessarily at any time because you have to have like a channel open and channel close. And then the amount of money is like, it's like bound in a complicated way by like the deposits on the channels. And then what do you get out of all this? What you get is something where like, you know, maybe if one party, the other party breaks a payment channel, then you could get like the last transaction out or something like that. But the transactions are being recorded off chain, which is why it's quite scalable to make Lightning work. And apps like Moon and so on and so forth that try to make.
This shit will never work. Bitcoin is not good for payments at all. Bitcoin's slow and clunky and not good for payments ever. I don't think it's supposed to be for payments. Like, I don't know. I never understood the Lightning thing. Jack Dorsey,
like MUUN and Wallet of Satoshi. So they're fine, like these guys. But basically, they end up essentially setting up a hub and spoke topology where it looks a lot like here's Coinbase, here's Binance, and they've got a ring of customers around them, and they have a channel between them where they can do quick Coinbase to Binance settlement. So that if you send within Coinbase to another Coinbase customer or within Coinbase to a Binance customer, maybe Coinbase to Binance is it could be off-chain, or it could be a very quick Coinbase Binance, like, you know, daily or nightly or whatever, hourly settlement, however they decide to do it. But if they have an agreement, they have a peering relationship, they can move it fast. This is very similar to how banks work, right? Banks essentially mean within a bank, it's fast, it's just a debit credit in their system. And between banks, they use Fedwire or something, they do settlement, and they have a true up where it's like the net credit, the net debit, and they just true it up like this, right? And so the hub and spoke implementation of Lightning is really not, in my view, doesn't get you much over just loading in the Bitcoin and doing off-chain transactions and having a peering relationship between Moon and Wallet of Satoshi and Nostr and whatever, right? Damus. And that's all.
I gotta give Mike one more minute. I just want to hear like the final Zcash pitch.
Fine. And there's a bunch of people who will basically give me some kind of argument like, no, it works, or whatever. And whenever I poke on it, it's always some hub and spoke thing under the hood. And it's not like truly decentralized in the sense of it's not like Bitcoin where you can see it on chain. Anybody can pay anybody, anytime, any amount without any setup, blah, blah, right? Okay. So what you really want is on-chain scaling, right? Just blast the transactions on chain. What's funny is Ethereum actually learned the same lesson in a sense as Bitcoin. Why? Like, you know, and to be clear, again, I'm pro Bitcoin, pro Ethereum. Like Vitalik posted that L2s kind of didn't work. And to be clear, a lot of the L2s are smart people. I think they will adapt and pivot. I've actually got a post coming out on this from L2 to App2. You can turn those L2s into app chains. And you have Ethereum for global state. You have your computer for local state. And then if you have like a decentralized notion, like an Obsidian, use L2s for app state that you're syncing across computers. Like, you know, like your username of argent.eth or balachis.eth is global, but the state that you're moving, if you're doing a file share request or something, that doesn't need to be global state. It could be L2 state. Yeah. And then you have local app state. Fine. So leaving that though, the thing is, L2s were fine as a hack. They were more successful on Ethereum than they were in Bitcoin. Like Base and Polygon were actually quite important, are important. But really the Solana model, just blasting events on chain worked, right? Because it's easier, conceptually easier. You don't have to think about, I mean, blockchains are complicated enough without having to worry about like, oh, where's my coin? What chain is it on? Right. It's easy to make mistakes on that. It's easy for users to make mistakes. You're forcing them to be aware of a detail that they really shouldn't be aware of or have to be aware of. And so Solana's model of just blast it on chain and have beefier hardware worked. And it was maybe not obvious a few years ago, but that model worked. And it became also very clear that the value accrual is going to Solana, and then an app on Solana is doing something Solana isn't doing. And so that worked, right? So now we have basically 3 levels. So it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana in terms of scalability on chain, right? And so now the question is, can we go further still? ZK, obviously there's ZK rollups, there's optimistic rollups, there's all, you know, ZK is not simply a privacy technology, it's also a compression technology, it's a performance technology. And in fact, arguably, even though Zcash came up with the concept of ZK, the utility of ZK saw use more in scalability than it did privacy at first. This is good because scalability was immediately commercially important. You know, the saying vitamin versus painkiller? No. Like you know, a painkiller is, it's maybe immediately obvious.
Okay, yeah.
You got an immediate problem and you want to take care of it, right? And the vitamin is like possible upside, right? And you can argue, but basically, another way of putting it is like a painkiller is a must and a vitamin is a nice to have.
Vitamin versus painkiller. I've never heard that before.
Right? Like a you know, a want as opposed to a need, right? So making more money required scalability. So that was a must, right? And it seemed for a long time like people could do without privacy, or rather, it wasn't as important as scalable, so people thought. But now we have all of these attacks on people for like, you know, doxing locations and so forth, where if you're in Dubai or you're in a low crime jurisdiction, Singapore, if you're in El Salvador perhaps, and so on and so forth, you're fine, right? Those are going to be 3 very important places on the earth in my view. Singapore, Dubai, El Salvador are the new like Tokyo, London, New York. Like even Miami is maybe, I think El Salvador has more upside than Miami because it's a startup state. Like I actually like Francis Suarez a lot. Miami and El Salvador will probably have an important relationship, but El Salvador is like a full sovereign.
El Salvador over New York?
Right, it can do a lot. It did deal with Elon recently. It has Tether.
And you all live in El Salvador?
They're there. These are big moves, right? So Bukele is like...
They have Tether there. Come on, bro. Tether's everywhere.
Bukele, Guan Yu. Those get you the Americas, EMEA, and APAC, right? It gives you all 3 time zones. El Salvador, Dubai, Singapore. And those, if you're setting up anything in crypto, I think or anything in tech crypto, those are going to be the 3 nodes. One thing we need to do, I should post this afterwards. Like President Bukele should set up direct flights between Dubai, El Salvador, and Singapore, El Salvador, and build an international airport.
We all have them already?
I don't think we have them. Partly it's because South America, Latin America has been sort of locked off from the rest of the world, especially Asia. And lots of flights have to route through America. And to route through America, if you're not a US citizen, you have to get a so-called, like, I think a C visa, a transit visa. So many people who want to go to Crescimento in Argentina and they're Asian.
Did I dead by the top of New York City, like the Pico Schmico top?
They don't have a US visa or something. You have to like go to the embassy, the US embassy, to get a C visa for just like, it's a huge tax. You want to just fly from, let's say, India to Argentina. You have to stop through the US. But to even stop through the US, you need like a C transit visa, which means you need to go to the US embassy and apply for a visa months in advance to jump on a flight. So it takes away all spur of the moment. It's like this enormous tax of time and energy. You can get rejected for that visa. It's often not awarded. So having something like El Salvador, which can just route around that, will be very important. Like an enormous amount of traffic will go there because Dubai and Singapore are these huge, huge points. Anyway, coming back. So on-chain, just being able to blast private transactions on-chain, Solana-like scalability, but Zcash is what I think Sean Bowe may have with Tachyon. That seems simple, scalable, easy to understand. It's what a lot of people want Bitcoin to be, you know? So yeah, so that's how I think about that. Yeah.
What else will it take to be the official?
All right, I'm good off of this. Scalable Bitcoin, private. I mean, look, that wasn't my favorite watch ever. I'm not gonna lie. There's some things to be salvaged in crypto. Zcash is one of them. The privacy thing is one of them. It's one of them that like can't be replaced. Actually, I think it's one of them that can't be replaced. Like you can't really fix the privacy thing. What's the frat video? Oh, I can't watch that. I can't watch the frat video. I can't. How do you feel about crypto right now? Honestly, after Hasib and then I don't know what we just watched. How do you feel about crypto right now? I honestly feel decent, man. I actually feel decent because I don't feel like it could get that much worse. Famous last words, right? I don't feel like it can get that much worse. I feel like we're just due at some point. Like, basically, my take on crypto is that if we could sit here for long enough and get smart on other stuff, when crypto comes back, we're just going to be like a lot more positioned for what we're supposed to do than we previously were if Bitcoin and crypto were still going up. That's kind of my take. Like, if we can stay locked in and bleeding edge on AI and the rest of the world while crypto like figures out, when it all comes back, we're just like pretty positioned. I don't really think there's that many people that are more caught up on the AI stuff than we are. Like, chat, do you ever hear, in the last 2 weeks since we started doing a lot of AI, have you heard an AI headline or read a tweet about AI that we like haven't covered? I don't think there was that. I don't think anyone, bro. Alex Finn did a stream today about Claude. He had 1.5K about Anthropic banning Claude. I think that's like the group. Dude, if you went and bought stakes right now to the King, I'd be so hyped, by the way. Oh my God, that'd be so lit. I don't really think there's anyone that's that much more on the ball than we are. I don't even read AI Twitter anymore. I just watch your stream. There's a code report video if you want to watch it. These are so good all the time. Not gonna lie, the thing I'm building with AI right now got me geeked. Should we watch the code report video? They're so good. It dropped yesterday. Like, even this shit, we've been on this.
The last few weeks have been concerning if you're a software developer, and very concerning if you're a software megacorporation that relies on the SaaS business model. The model where your customer never really owns your React app, but instead rents the privilege to click buttons forever at an 80% profit.
I don't think we're wrong either, Frank. I don't.
margin. Adobe, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Shopify, and many other companies collectively saw $1 trillion wipe off their market cap over the past few weeks.
This is the SaaS apocalypse we keep talking about.
The big question is why? You probably already know the answer. It's not interest rates or accounting fraud, it's AI. The suits just realized that if an AI agent can slop out the work of 10 people in 10 milliseconds, they don't need to buy 10 seats, they need 0. In today's video, we'll look at 7 recent developments in the AI space that support the thesis that software as a service is headed towards a death spiral. It is February 17th, 2026, and you're watching the Code Report. Last week, OpenAI released the Codex app for macOS, which they describe as a command center for agents. The app itself had over 1 million downloads in its first week, and it provides a simple way to handle agentic workflows in parallel that anyone can use. And what makes that so scary is that it means your boss no longer needs to ask you, the developer, to build an app, but instead can build the app himself and then just ask you to debug the 10,000 lines of code it generated. But behind OpenAI's Codex app is the second thing you need to know about, the Codex 5.3 model. Not only is it their most advanced coding model yet that crushes the Trust Me Bro benchmarks, but it's also 25% faster than previous versions. And it's also able to integrate skills now that allow it to do things like image generation, writing, and research to handle the full girth of responsibilities by a product development team. That's impressive, but OpenAI's biggest rival in the coding space is Claude, which just released Opus 4.6. Not only is it excellent at generating code, but now Anthropic is trying to break into other areas like legal analysis, financial modeling, and a bunch of other things that they'll use to justify expensive enterprise subscriptions. But the big Silicon Valley closed models are not the only thing making progress. Alibaba just released Qwen 3 Coder Next, which is an open way.
Dude, it's closer than Wasib wants to say, bro. I'm not gonna lie. It's closer than we're willing to say. Like, it just is. It's closer than we're willing to admit. It is. Watch the China Maxi video if you missed it on my YouTube. It's closer than we're willing to admit.
Highly capable coding model that gives companies the ability to host their own serious developer brain behind a firewall. And that kills another SaaS advantage, vendor lock-in, because why rent 5 different dev tools at $49 per month when you can self-host your own brain that rebuilds them all from scratch for free? That's a no-brainer, but another big release comes from ZAI with GLM5. It's a model that targets complex systems engineering and long-horizon agentic jobs, and its performance approaches and sometimes beats the best closed models in the industry. But it's not the only open model challenger. Minimax M2.5 has been going viral the last couple days because it also manages intelligence on par with frontier models at a fraction of the compute price. We're getting very close to the point of making these $200 AI plans obsolete, because models like M2.5 are making top-tier reasoning feel cheap, portable, and increasingly open to anyone with a decent GPU, instead of a corporate expense account. It's pretty clear that none of these AI companies have much of a moat, and the real battle being fought right now is who can build the best platform.
This is our take, by the way. There's no moat. They're just commoditized, brother. They're just commoditized. Apple wins. Apple wins, bro. Apple wins. Who could build the best wrapper and have the hardware? Apple wins.
For autonomous code orchestration, and Microsoft wants to be the company that wins that, and increasingly open to anyone with a decent GPU, instead of a corporate expense account. It's pretty clear that none of these AI companies have much of a moat, and the real battle being fought right now is who can build the best platform for autonomous code orchestration. And Microsoft wants to be the company that wins that battle with their GitHub Agent HQ. The GitHub was originally designed just for code hosting, but now it's a complete AI agent orchestration platform. Agents can open issues, generate branches, and merge code when tests pass. It's project management, QA, and DevOps automation all rolled into one. But what about Google? They've been relatively quiet with Gemini releases lately. However, Waymo, their self-driving car company, just released the Waymo World model, which is all about simulation and prediction at scale. It demonstrates how AI systems can model complex environments, make decisions, and act autonomously. But the thing is, when you translate that into business software, like forecasting...
Waymo is actually like the most revolutionary technology of the decade. It gets like not talked about. We're just like, yeah, whatever. The cars just like drive themselves in LA. Who cares?
In logistics, risk modeling, and operations, it starts to make a lot of traditional SaaS dashboards that visualize these things look obsolete. And with that, we've looked at 7 new developments in AI with one theme. When intelligence becomes abundant, software stops charging per human. And when the seat dies, so does the SaaS profit margin. But even if SaaS dies, there'll be new opportunities for developers who know how to use modern tools like Oz by Warp, the sponsor of today's video. Warp already brought you a modern terminal, and they just launched Oz, a cloud platform for coding agents. So instead of being stuck with one agent on your local machine, Oz lets you run hundreds of them in the cloud, where they can make changes across multiple repos simultaneously. That means you could have one agent fixing a bug from Linear, another one updating docs from a pull request, and a third one scanning logs from a Grafana alert, all running at the same time. You can quickly launch new agents from the Oz web app or CLI, or set them up on schedules and event triggers.
SaaS is dead. Here's a SaaS ad.
Once they're live, you can watch them work and steer things as needed. Try running your own agent today at the link below and use the code FIRESHIP for a special discount. This has been the Code Report. Thanks for watching, and I will see
SaaS was a 2022 Iman Gadzhi thing. I think it was much bigger than that, brother. Yeah, I mean, this is the fucking Code Report. Frank says, actually, highest likelihood of incumbents being disrupted. There's going to be so much winners. SaaS is software as a service. So anyone that sells software that you can do anything with. Dude, it does just feel like there's going to be infinite winners. It feels like there's going to be infinite winners. I'm hype about the consumer side as well. Like, it feels like there's going to be a new OpenClaw every month. A new moat book every month. I'm hype about the consumer side. The only problem is how you get exposed. How do you get exposure to this shit? How do I get exposure? How do I get exposure to some of this stuff? I don't really know. That's our biggest thing to answer is like, especially the newer niche stuff. Like there was no way to get exposure to OpenClaw, unfortunately, but Zcash and Pump are down 10% today. Yeah, I just like don't think you can watch crypto that hard right now. It's just painful. This is Zcash is brutal. Weak ass complacency shoulder. I mean, yeah, this is just ugly. But you probably chop in here for a while, brother. Chop in here for a while and stay excited about the exciting things happening. Jack, I already did. Stay excited about the exciting things happening because that's what we do every day. Hey, Friday, the OpenClaw guy, Michael, I can never, Chomsky is coming on, $1,500 to help us set up OpenClaw live on stream. He's coming on Friday. Tomorrow, I'm going to be solo. We have some good stuff for you tomorrow. What do you want tomorrow, actually? What do you want? We might do fucking a geopolitical stream. Did we just do an Iran stream? We going geopolitics tomorrow? Is that what we're doing? What do you want? What do you want tomorrow? If there's anything you want, let me know. But we have a bunch of topics. We should maybe do like a vibe coding stream at some point, right? That's obviously something we should do. Again, we did that. So think about how much has changed since we did that Tulip King stream. Think about how much has changed, bro. Should we code some shit tomorrow? Making a skill live. Maybe we just code tomorrow. By the way, that Apple thesis we did today, I like. I'm obsessed with it, actually. I'm actually obsessed with it. The Apple thesis. I'm not gonna lie. It's so fun. It's such a fun trade. Now, it's already at 3.5 trillion. I don't know how much it can go on, but vibe code situation monitor, that'd be kind of cool. I'm obsessed with Apple. They're so cool, dude. Except Tim Cook. China Tim isn't cool. Code a clipbots to replace your clippers. We have like 5 of them. We have like 5 of those. All right, I'm out. Same time tomorrow. Maybe we'll code some shit. Friday we're doing an OpenClaw setup every day. We got some new shit for y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm out. I'm rocking it. Have a good one. See you tomorrow. I didn't hit my 3-hour quota, but I got fucking close, man. I got fucking close. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm out. Thank you. Peace.